And away we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday.
Hello to you, and how do you do? Great to be with you. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. What's shaking, y'all? It's great to be with you once again. I am Rob Brown. Hope you had an outstanding weekend back in the palatial ESPN Upstate studios, in charge of buttons, switches, levers, knobs, gears, pulleys, and other systems and apparatuses required to get us on the air. The great one, Colonel Grudge, the conductor of the Symphony of Sound, the Alpha and the Omega of ESPN Upstate, Lonzo, in charge of the broadcast. What up, Zoe? How was your weekend, amigo?
My weekend was great. Had a good time, South Carolina Comic-Con, and did yard work all day yesterday and babysat. You'll have to do that someday. It's fun.
Or, hear me out, I don't have to do that, and I can just do Comic-Con all the time. Well, not all the time.
There is that, yeah.
No, Comic-Con was great. Want to thank all the folks from the South Carolina Comic-Con that helped us get Jerry the King Lawler on the air on Friday. They were phenomenal. In fact, I went up there on Sunday and went up to meet. This was actually a really cool thing, Zoe. And this is one of those times that I will tell you, I am absolutely bragging about my life because sometimes it's awesome. On Sunday, I went up to Comic-Con and I went up to where Jerry the King Lawler and Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin and Jake the Snake Roberts and Lex Luger were all stationed in one little corner, or not little corner, one big corner of the room. And, I stood in line. I'm nobody special. I waited. And when I got my opportunity, I walked up to Jerry the King first. And I said, Jerry, it's my name's Rob. I'm the one that you did the interview with on Friday. And he started laughing and he said, man, that was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. Enjoyed it. We talked about the interview for a few minutes. He goes, here, let's grab a picture. And he hands me the crown and lets me hold the crown to take a picture with him. And then when we're done, he goes, here, grab one of these. And he grabs one of his, little autograph, 8x11s or whatever they are, and signs it for me. And then he goes, here, walk over here with me. And Jerry the King Lawler walks with me and introduces me personally to Jake the Snake Roberts. Jake says, oh, you're the radio guy Jerry told me about. And I said, yeah. And Jake the Snake goes, well then blank you. And starts laughing like it's the funniest joke he's ever told in his life. He talks to me for a couple of minutes. He says, he makes a joke that I'll have to tell you, Lonzo, off the air because it is wildly inappropriate for on-air consumption. Suffice to say, it was about the snake portion of Jake the Snake Roberts. I'll leave it at that. He signs an autograph for me. He takes like 4 or 5 pictures with me. Then he goes, here, him and Jerry both go, come here, walk over here. And they both introduce me to Lex Luger. And, take a picture. Lex signs me an autograph. In fact, as a matter of fact, Zoe, I've got the whole sleeve of autographs sitting right here next to me to get framed and displayed today. Take a picture with Lex Luger. And then one of the guys from Comic-Con is like, here, come over here. And he walks me over and he introduces me to Sammy Guevara. So I get to talk to Sammy for a few minutes. After I talk to Sammy for a few minutes, he's like, hey, walk over here. Let's meet Darby. Walks me over. I talk to Darby Allin for 3 or 4 minutes. All this is happening. I do feel like a jerk for this, but there's like a line of people waiting to meet these people. And they're just handing me off from wrestler to wrestler, Hall of Famers and current champions up and down the line. And then I get done, Lonzo. Our buddy P1 Keegan is there with me. And Keegan looks and goes, dude, that was kind of cool. Like, yeah. It was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to basically be handed off between multiple wrestlers and current champs. Zoe, I am saying all of this. Somebody wrote me earlier when I was telling this story of the weekend and says, Rob, dude, kind of sounds like you're bragging a little bit. That's because I am, Lonzo.
Yeah, you should be bragging. And again, I apologize for not being able to go yesterday, but day one, I spent over $200 and I was not going back again because I did see things that I probably would have purchased if I went back. And, I missed out because who knows, maybe I would have gotten to go with you. Or maybe me being there might have hindered them handing you off. So I'm glad you got to do all that. I will say I got to meet the guys that I interviewed a couple weeks before the voice talent, and they told me how much fun they had on my show and everything. And while they're autographing a picture for me, one looks over because my son was on the show with me that night, and looks at it and goes, "Here," and just autographed the picture and gave it to him for free.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, South Carolina Comic-Con, the entire Comic-Con was great. But it's so cool that you got that experience. I had that experience, and this happens every year. So if you missed out, you can do it again next year.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal con. We'll talk more about it later on. But we are here to talk sports, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Sports Talk Radio Show. So with that being said, Lonzo, let's do that little thing that we do.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented. You guys hear?
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here? Lunch!
All right, the lunch breakdown, the three things you have to know before we go start talking sports with your friends, family, coworkers, or the dog, whoever you spend your lunch break with. This shall be the scuttlebutt around the lunch table this afternoon. We start with item number one. No, it is no surprise. It will come as a shock to precisely nobody who's been following the NFL draft, but Clemson fans may rest a little easier as it appears through a series of tweets that Trevor Lawrence has begun to open himself up to the fans of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, he has been considered the consensus number one top player in a loaded class at QB once the Jags took the number one pick away from the Jets by losing 15 consecutive games last season. It became clear that Trevor Lawrence would be headed to Duval. But there was just that little piece of us, just that little part back in the back of the noggin that thought, hey, they are Jacksonville. They have a tremendous ability to screw things up. Perhaps, perchance, they might do that. Well, a week after marrying longtime girlfriend Marissa Mowry, Lawrence seemed to confirm that what we already knew but needed to know for sure, but now definitely know was the case. Trevor Lawrence, after Jaguars fans flooded some of the charitable organizations that he works with donations as wedding gifts. Trevor sent out a tweet that said, "Thank you, Jaguars fans. We really appreciate the wedding gifts and donations for charities of our choice. In addition to the donations, Marissa and I will also be donating $20,000 to charities in Jacksonville. Thanks again. We hope to be a part of your community soon." End quote. Now, in fairness, he did say, "We hope to be a member of your community soon." But I don't think there's any chance under this clear blue sky that Trevor Lawrence is anything but a Jacksonville Jaguar next season. That being said, Zoe, looks like the confirmation is here. Trevor Lawrence will have the unenviable task of trying to bring the Jaguars back to relevance. Good luck, TL16.
I'm sure what he meant was, I'm not sure if we're going to live in Jacksonville. We'll be working in Jacksonville, but we may not be living in Jacksonville.
Trevor going to have him a house down in St. Augustine, which is infinitely better than Jacksonville. You know what else is infinitely better than Jacksonville, Zoe? Paper cuts, stubbed toes, pokes to the eyeball, hairs being ripped out of your head accidentally. All of those things better than Jacksonville. So good luck, Trevor. Good luck. Item number 2 on the lunch breakdown. This one comes from Major League Baseball. I don't know if you got to see it, but ladies and gentlemen, the Atlanta Braves yesterday looked like the Atlanta Braves that we wanted them to look like. 4 dingers, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th that was just 2 feet away from climbing the wall and being number 5. The Braves went ballistic from the dish yesterday. The day before, they gave up 13 to the Cubbies of Chi-Town in a 13-4 L. Yesterday, they reversed course. Exactly reversed course. They knock off the Cubbies 13-4 after a barrage of dingers early, a grand slam later. Everything went exceptionally well for the Braves. ... But it came at a cost. Superstar outfielder Ronald Acuna Jr. suffered an abdominal strain during a pickoff attempt in the 4th inning Sunday. Acuna repeatedly pointed at his middle area while on the bases. He advanced to second on a walk to Freddie Freeman. After speaking with manager Brian Snitker, Acuna stayed in the game. Later on, Travis d'Arnaud would hit a sac fly to the outfield. Acuna would dash home. He would slide head first. He appeared to be in pain after the slide. Took him a second to get up off the ground, and he would be ultimately removed from the game. Ihir Adrianza was playing second base, shifted to right field, and Johan Camargo entered at second. The Braves announced Acuna left with pain in his lower abdominal muscles. Snitker confirmed it was a strain. The team will not know if he'll need time on the IR until Monday. The Braves have 2 days off this week, Monday and Thursday, surrounding a 2-game series in New York against the Yankees through interleague play. Snitker said they'll reassess him today. Now, see where he's at. I don't know. It was so late here that they couldn't get the test they wanted, so they'll get it tomorrow in New York, and we'll know more then. The Braves have already had a plethora of injuries that have impacted them so far. They're down 3 starters off the hill. Mike Soroka, Max Fried, and Drew Smiley are all out. They're down 2 center fielders as Christian Pache and Ender Inciarte are also out. Relievers Chris Martin and Sean Newcomb are on the shelf. Ozzy Albies is sidelined, though there is hope that he'll return for tomorrow in the first of a 2-game set against the Yanks. Acuna has been off to an incredible start, hitting over 400, hitting 419, 7 homers, 16 RBIs. He's also scored in 10 consecutive games and leads the majors with 20 runs scored. He's been the lone consistent contributor on the Braves' up and down offense. Losing Acuna, especially given the fact that he is well on an MVP pace right now for any good amount of time, will be a big blow. Bryce Wilson said, quote, "From what I've heard, Acuna's doing good. We're hoping he's going to be all right. I haven't seen anything other than that," end quote. So the Braves lose Ronnie Acuna. He's added to a list of who's who players that are also out right now due to injuries. And they look good yesterday. If they play that level of baseball with all these guys on the injured list, you got to wonder, might they be able to find a little something when they get fully healthy? Finally, item number 3. And I'm going to run over this one very briefly. We're going to talk more about it later on in the show. And I'm going to go ahead. I usually don't acknowledge this before I do a segment like it, but I am going to do this here. So I'm going to acknowledge that this is a bit of an experiment for your boy Rob Brown and this show in the direction of it. Lonzo, I know that we have a sizable soccer community here in the upstate, and not just those that follow the Triumph, those that are getting excited about Charlotte FC, not just those that are into MLS or even the men's international side, but I know that there is no small number of Premier League and Serie A and La Liga fans. I know that I have been in many weekends downtown at some of the bars that show Premier League games and seen dozens upon dozens of, I know, Everton fans come out in force. The Carolina Toffees supporter club is in the area. I know as a matter of fact, I went and played a little golf with the lady friend on Friday night, and there were not one but 2 guys at the golf course wearing Chelsea shirts. I know that there is a small but rapidly growing group of fans who care about European soccer here in the upstate. But I wonder if it is starting to catch on to where a story of the size and impact of the one that I'm about to tell you about might catch on. So I'm going to tell you what's happening, Lonzo. And after I'm done, I want to ask you if it holds any interest to you as a story. So I'm going to tell you what's happening here, give you the response to it in the next segment, and then I want to hear from Lonzo and the listeners if this is something that you are at all in any way intrigued by. So, AC Milan, Arsenal, Atletico Madrid, Chelsea FC, FC Barcelona, Inter Milan, Juventus, Liverpool FC, Manchester City, Manchester United, Real Madrid, and Tottenham Hotspur have all announced themselves as founding clubs in a new European startup Super League. No start date has been announced for the Super League, which has now been, and this is where it gets interesting, Lonzo, it has been condemned by UEFA, the United European Football Association. It has been condemned by FIFA, the International Football Overseers, and it has been condemned almost unanimously by soccer fans around the world as a terrible idea. The Super League announced it anticipates that at least 3 more clubs will join ahead of the inaugural season. Of those aforementioned clubs, 12, 6 are from the Premier League, 3 apiece from the Italian Serie A and Spanish La Liga. No clubs from France or Germany have yet been associated with the Super League. They expect the competition format to end ultimately with 20 participating clubs, 15 founding clubs, and a qualifying mechanism for a further 5 teams to qualify annually based on achievements in the previous season. One of the things that they are looking at is having midweek fixtures with all participating clubs continuing to compete in their respective national leagues, preserving the domestic match calendar, which remains at the heart of the club game. An August start with clubs participating in 2 groups of 10, playing home and away fixtures that goes and dwindles down all the way until you have a championship single leg betwixt the two. FIFA, the world's governing body for soccer, has expressed disapproval of the Super League. They released a statement that said, quote, FIFA can only express its disapproval to a closed European breakaway league outside of the international football structure and not respecting the aforementioned principles. FIFA always stands for unity in world football and calls on all parties involved in heated discussions to engage in calm, constructive, and balanced dialogue for the good of the game and the spirit of solidarity and fair play. So, long story short, the goal of this Super League would be to take 12 to 15 founding clubs, which are considered 12 to 15 of the most prominent clubs worldwide, then add in a buy-in, or a play-in, I should say, for 5 different clubs every year, the 5 most successful clubs in Europe outside of those initial 12 to 15, add them in, and create what would ultimately break down to be the single most talented soccer league in the world. But there are problems, and fans around the world are furious about it, to the point that thousands of Liverpool fans yesterday, thousands of them, marched on Liverpool Stadium and hung banners that said RIP Liverpool Football Club 1895 to 2021, rest in peace. There have been thousands of fans on message boards around the world that have said if their program joins this league, they would not be fans anymore, despite the fact that one of the interesting appeals of European soccer is the clubs are so old, your great-great-grandparents were supporters of this club. Zoe, knowing those details, do you have any interest in finding out what the rest of this story is?
Absolutely, because I think that there are parallels with what wanted to happen. People wanted to happen here last year when NCAA football, people were, and it's been speculated on before about them breaking away from the NCAA and forming their own league. And it's the same sort of thing. So if this is successful, then all the other leagues around the world, no matter what the sport, should be concerned, because if they're able to make this work, then this is the tip of the iceberg, and some other teams and other sports are going to do the same thing. So I'm interested from that standpoint.
Interesting parallel, Lonzo.
I also think all those people marching, nobody believes you. Nobody, because soccer or football is ingrained, as you talked about, generation after generation after generation. You're going to watch your team because they're your team. Do you care enough to not watch your team? They're so passionate over there. I don't see them turning away. I think they think that their voice will stop this from happening. Once it does happen, they'll be right there watching their team.
Well, that is an interesting point, a good one, and we will address it. On the alternate side of that, there actually is something FIFA may do that would have a drastic impact on the United States men's national team. I'll tell you what that is next on the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
Golf cart.
Yep.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at espnupstate.com.
If you're getting a little stir crazy, yeah, you need to get it. Look outside right now. Look outside the window. Look at the blue sky. Just a few clouds. Weather's in the mid 60s. It's a beautiful day. And it's a beautiful day for golf. And you're thinking, man, I could get out for a round of 18 right now. But by gosh, I'll only do it if I can get it for, 75% off. Well, am I glad I'm here to help you out? The Upstate Golf Card is on sale right now. The best deal for golfers is back and better than ever. 9 premier Upstate golf courses on the 2021 Upstate Golf Card for just $99. That is over $450 worth of golf for just $99, over a 75% discount. For only $99, listeners can purchase the golf cards and get 1 round of golf at each of the 9 courses. That's a $450 plus value. You are getting it for just $99. Ladies and gentlemen, good luck finding a deal better than that. You won't. You want to learn more? I'm glad you do. Go to the website at upstategolfcard.com. Upstategolfcard.com. You can get all the details, see all the courses, and most importantly, buy yours now. Get it in. Supplies are limited. You don't want to regret missing out on this. Go to upstategolfcard.com. That's upstategolfcard.com.
AutomotiveMap.com presents.
So were you able to go around the entire thing Sunday?
Yes, about 6 times.
Yeah.
I spent far too much money.
Well, it took us 2.5 hours to go through it once.
Yeah.
But we were there Saturday morning right when it began, in line for the beginning of it, being able to watch. Because I want to see what the trends are, because every year there's a trend about what's the most popular as far as cosplay goes. Bless you. And this year it was furries.
Yeah, oh my God. Keegan and I had a whole conversation about that.
It was furries and it was My Hero Academia. And I think it was pretty even, at least on Saturday. I was discussing furries on my show Saturday night, and one was listening on his way back to North Carolina. And we're talking about, I don't understand the anger towards it. I mean, people are just dressing up, whatever. But there were a couple furries in front of us, and they were talking each time a new one would get in line. This one guy was like, we're probably the only ones that know who every single one of these guys. I didn't realize that I just thought there were people dressing up as animals. So
are they like characters?
Apparently they're characters. Yeah.
So
characters from where, I don't know. And I don't know that I care enough to, delve into it, but maybe I should. My son we've seen this every year, and since he's getting ready to move, he thought this would be a centerpiece for his Dungeons and Dragons table. He bought a dragon skull.
That's legit.
And it's I don't know, like 2 feet long, probably a foot wide. I don't know, I want to say like a foot tall. And we've seen it before. It looks like something you would see on Skyrim after you kill a dragon. And it's nice.
The furries thing, because there were a ton of them there on Sunday. My whole outlook on life is like, you don't have to understand what everybody does. Just let everybody do their thing. And I'm cool with that. But that's one of the few things that I'm like, I just genuinely don't get it. Like, yeah, there were a billion people walking around and all, like, obviously there were 50 Harley Quinns and there were Batmans and Captain Americas everywhere. And I'm good with all that. Maybe because they are actual characters, these people have an affinity for them the way that we do about Cap and Batman and all that. But I just genuinely, I think I watched a short documentary on them one time, and it's not just that these people like dressed up like the characters.
They want, yeah, they
don't break it, and I guess I just don't get it.
Do you get bronies?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because I think there are similarities there.
I guess it's one of those things where it's like, if that becomes you, like if all you are is this one aspect of your life, right? That just is who you are all the time. That's when you lose me a little bit.
Well, if you have a dire need to belong and you're looking for a way to belong, and this makes you feel like you're included, and you've never felt that way before, maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe there's a sense of community. There's a lot of depth and psychological longing, I suppose, to it. I hope no one was listening. That sounded way too intelligent.
You're breaking character. You're breaking kayfabe.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'll dumb it down real quick. 30 seconds.
I was worried when we get to like 22, 23 after that we're taking the segment too long. One day last week, Mark took a segment to 27 after to end his first segment. I was like, wow. I got nervous.
Yeah, I would have been yelling. Unless it was a 6 o'clock hour, then who cares?
I think it was.
Brewed locally.
Oh my God, a hipster! Bring him a microbrew, quick!
This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Yes, it is. Thank you, announcer guy. It is the Rob Brown Show right here on ESPN Upstate. Rob and Lonzo, join us on the live stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate. You can watch Zoe and I behind the scenes, have conversations with us off the air. We interact with you during the break. So if you got something that's maybe not on air content, but you want to have a discussion about it, join us there at the stream, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/The Rob Brown Show, twitter.com/Lonzo and Word, or search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. If you got a smart TV, you can put it up on the smart TV just like a regular TV show. If you're tired of watching the big-headed blowhards on every show has got 7 morning, or every channel's got 7 morning debate shows. If you're tired of watching people yell and scream at each other and you just want to have some fun, put us up on your TV, youtube.com/The Rob Brown Show, or search The Rob Brown Show on your YouTube app. Throw us up on your smart TV or computer and enjoy the behind-the-scenes look. So we were talking a little bit about this European Super League that has been discussed and is looking like it is going to pop up sometime in the very near future. Now, it's not the first time that a Super League discussion has been brought up, but it is the first time that it looks like it is going to actually take place. And what's interesting about this is that the timing is very off about it. On Monday, UEFA is expected to approve changes to the Champions League that will include an expanded format, more games, and tweaks to the revenue distribution. These changes were agreed only on Friday after protracted negotiations with Europe's leading clubs and the European Club Association, who voted to approve it, according to ESPN. All of this would now be overshadowed and rendered potentially meaningless if Europe's biggest clubs renege on that agreement and are really ready to walk out as early as 2022, as some have reported. So basically, if this league, Lonzo, is founded, what ends up happening is that long-established leagues like the Champions League would end up going by the wayside, because the majority of the teams that enter the Champions League every year are teams that found great success in La Liga, in the Premier League, in Serie A, et cetera, et cetera. So if all of those clubs decide to bail out and start playing in the Super League, then the long-established leagues will end up going away. Now, that in and of itself is not necessarily by default a bad thing. That is not by default necessarily a bad thing. So, with all of that being said, fans, here's one of the things I love. This is one of the things that attracted me to European soccer once I learned a little bit more about it during my college days. A lot of these clubs like Manchester United, who refers to itself as the Workers' Club, clubs like Liverpool FC, these clubs are, in some cases, 150 plus years old. They've been playing football for, I want to say Liverpool has been playing since around the time of the end of the Civil War, all right? When Americans were trying to find their way through Reconstruction and the like, Liverpool Soccer Club was playing at a professional level. That's how old some of these clubs are. You have fans of Liverpool FC who are sixth-generation fans. I mean, their great-great-grandparents were the original supporters of Liverpool. And these clubs have been at fan direction for many, many years. They have owners and they have shareholders, just like every other professional club. But they have been directed by the will of the fans for literally almost a couple of 100 years in many cases. And now what has happened is that owners have taken over that are more concerned with how can we expand to make money, even if it goes against the will of the fans. And that's where this Super League idea has come from. It came from the premise of what's a way that we can get more games out of this club. Somebody did the math last night. If a team was expected to play in their home league, in the Champions League, in the Super League, and in some of the other smaller tournaments, you would have to play upwards of 75 games per year as a European footballer. That's not a thing. That's not a thing that you would want your club to have to go through, right? You saw how Madden, granted it's a different sport and it's more physical, but the NFL just expanded to 17 games and players lost their minds. Imagine if they were asked to play 70 plus games, right? The fans are upset about it. I was actually, last night, I was sitting on the couch, catching up on the wrestling. I'm sitting on the couch and I'm reading through and I'm reading up about this after the Super League was announced. And I decided to go visit some of the Reddit subreddits that are dedicated to these European-based soccer clubs. And it is almost unanimous amongst the fans that they hate the idea. They hate the idea. I was trying to come up with, though, as I do when we have these conversations, trying to come up with an American metaphor, an American counterpart that I could point at and go, imagine if blank, but I couldn't. It would be like no situation that I could come up with the way that the fans are raging against this super club, but the owners don't care because it would increase club revenue through television broadcast and through sponsorships and all that. But they don't care that, again, yesterday, on a random Sunday afternoon in London, there were thousands of fans that marched to the home stadium of Liverpool FC and hung up banners declaring the club dead, that they would not follow the club anymore. They would not do it. Now, Zoe might be right. It might be one of those situations where a knee-jerk reaction is a little more violent than the actual reaction. And most of these fans, if this Super League is built and Liverpool was to remain in the Premier League and also play in the Super League and maybe ditch the Champions League, that they would just go, well, we hate it and it sucks, but hey, it's our club, we're going to follow. Maybe. But I don't know that for sure. It was the most violent outburst from fans that was damn near unanimous that I have ever seen in any sport, anywhere, ever in my entire career of doing this. I have never seen a fan uprising like I saw take place yesterday when this league was announced. Now, I also told you that there was something that would impact American fans here. One of the things that is interesting about this is there is such a pushback from FIFA that FIFA has said that they may bar players that are on these rosters of these 12 clubs so far, likely to grow to 15, ultimately with 5+ play-in teams every year up to 20. They may very well bar players on those clubs from playing international football. So those players on Manchester City and United, Liverpool, Chelsea, etc., would not be allowed to play in the Olympics, would not be allowed to play in the World Cup. What does that mean for the Americans? Well, Weston McKennie is one of those guys. Christian Pulisic is one of those guys. Gio Reyna is one of those guys. The future of American soccer at the international level, the majority of them are wrapped up in the Premier League, most of them. A couple of, I want to say there's one in La Liga, one in Serie A. But the majority of the future of American soccer is wrapped up. And if FIFA goes through with this threat to bar players on those rosters from playing internationally, the American International Soccer Club would be doomed because the best handful of players on that squad would be barred from international competition, including the World Cup. That is how adamant FIFA and Uefa are from preventing this from happening. And we as the Americans would get pushed to the side and suffer because of it. Lonzo, you may think their threats are empty or that it's not right that they do this, and I'm fine with either one of those takes, but I will be pissed if our best players cannot make it to the World Cup because of a Super League that is designed solely and only to make the owners of these clubs more money while damaging European football at its finest.
You know, let me be that guy because I am that guy. I don't see what the big deal is. When's the last time the American men actually competed in the World Cup? So what are we losing, Rob? What are we really losing? I don't believe we're really losing it. We're losing the ability to do something that they haven't had the ability to do because of lack of talent.
Right, but that's the point. Now we have that talent being built. Now we have the Christian Pulisics. Now we have the Gio Reynas. Now we have the Weston McKennies. Now we have talented players, talented enough to be playing in the best league in the world, in the Premier League. We have players that are talented enough that, and we are stealing players away from England and Spain and Italy, that their international clubs, which are wildly successful, want. We have that potential. And if this takes that away from us, man, as a fan of soccer, it is going to be painful. Let's take a break. We'll come back. I want your thoughts. Are you at all interested in this story? It is the biggest story in sports globally right now. But are you interested? When we come back, we'll talk a little Braves baseball after a wild day yesterday and one where the injury list continues to grow. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or
Google Fi, a phone plan by Google. It's easy to switch.
All right, Zoe, you ready for a trailer? Oh, Zoe's not even there. Oh, I need him to come back. You're welcome, Steven. My pleasure, man. Told you guys I was here to grow the soccer market. That's what I'm trying to do here, my man. All right, Zoe, you ready? We got a movie premiere to watch, trailer premiere to watch.
Well, I've already seen it, but I'll watch it again.
I gave you 10 years to live your life. Now you see me rise. And where did that get you? You walked in my shadow. I trained you. To the most dangerous people in the world. Come kill you. Son, it's time for you to take your place by my side. You better watch out, 'cause it's my time. The power in this whole mind. That's not going to happen. It's an arrogance that come alive.
30 seconds.
You can't outrun who you really are.
All right, we'll have to finish it on the backside. Suffice to say, Zoe, Kung Fu movie in the Marvel Universe.
And you've just killed my nearly entire Twitter trending topics, but that's okay.
That's okay. We'll talk about it again.
But we've got more time. I'll find more stuff.
There, so we'll have different discussions.
Oh, good point. Duh.
Filtered sports talk every weekday noon to 3. This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. Big day yesterday for the Atlanta Braves. 13 runs scored, and they finally looked like the Braves that we thought they would be preseason. The Braves that we thought might have a chance at going wire to wire at the top of the NL East, but the injury news has gotten worse now. Ronald Acuna Jr. Ronnie is out. We do not know for how long yet, but has an abdominal strain after he got to first base on a hit yesterday. He started kind of pointing to his abdominal section, ended up going to second on a walk, getting to third on a hit, and then scoring on a sac fly from Travis d'Arnaud. And when he slid into home, slid across the dish, took a second to get up, had to kind of gather himself, ended up being pulled from the game. We were hoping up, I want to say they were up like 10-2 at that point, or 11-2 or something like that it was just for precaution, but he is being reassessed today. We don't know if Ronald Acuna Jr. will spend any time on the IR, but they're already down 3 starting pitchers, and Mike Soroka, Max Fried, and Drew Smiley. They're down a pair of center fielders. Christian Pache and Ender Inciarte are both out. Chris Martin and Sean Newcomb out of the pen, both shelved for right now. Ozzy Albies has been sidelined. He is the hope, the expectation is that, pardon me, he will be back tomorrow when the Braves kick off a 2-game set against the against the Yankees up in New York. Acuna on an MLB MVP snide right now. 419, 7 homers, 16 ribbies, scored in 10 consecutive games, leads the majors with 21 runs scored, and has been really the only consistent offensive producer so far this season. The Braves offense has been hit or miss most of the season, and the only guy who's consistently contributed has been Ronald Acuna Jr. If he is out for any length of time, that is bad news for the Atlanta Braves. But I think there was at least a little bit of optimism yesterday. Yeah, I think a little bit of optimism for Atlanta. I mean, I got on Twitter when that game kicked off last night. Or yesterday afternoon around 4:00. I was watching the game at the house, and as I'm on Twitter, the Braves fans were coming out of the woodwork because the Braves were mashing the ball. 4 home runs in the first inning. They were about 3 feet away from having a 5th home run in the first inning. The offensive production, I got worried at one point. I was like, yeah, now watch this. they put up, I think they put up 6 runs in the first inning. And I said, but they won't score another run for 2 weeks, but they didn't. That production stayed there. The Cubs ran out like 6 different pitchers, and the Braves hit every one of them. It was a good run. It was a good run. Now we see if they can stay on that level of production. The question mark that I have now is going to be with this, with all these injuries, can the Braves get that consistent production to stay where it is? The Yankees are last place in the AL East, which is a huge surprise. The Yanks were expected to be competing for the AL East, though I do have to ask the question, is this because the Yankees are the Yankees, or is this because the Yankees really are that good? Well, so far, the Yankees just have not matched up to their preseason expectations, and I expect that they will. That's too good of a lineup not to start putting the ball into play and winning some baseball games. But now if you're the Braves, your hope here has got to be that you can go to New York, you can take on the Yankees, you can get this production, and they don't decide to have their breakout game on Tuesday or Wednesday when you are playing them in Yankee Stadium in New York. But again, this level of injuries, even if Ozzie Albies comes back tomorrow, as I think he is going to, even if Ozzie Albies does come back, you have still got a pretty hefty line. I mean, you're the Braves IL right now. Has got 3 or 4 guys on it that might be considered all-star potential at the Midsummer Classic. I mean, there are 3 or 4 guys on there that might be ultimately considered all-star players. So I am interested in seeing what the Braves can do. I will absolutely be setting my fat behind down on the couch to watch what they do on Tuesday and Wednesday against the Yanks. Don't let them have a breakout, even though you are a little deeper in the starting rotation than you thought you might be. Don't let them have the breakout offensive performance, and see if you can build more consistency out of the bats like you did against Chicago yesterday. 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Ask you guys, Braves fans, are you feeling a little more optimistic about the Bravos today after that game? My answer is slightly, but I need to see it done consistently. If they can consistently do what they did yesterday, I think the Braves are in a good spot, but I'm not quite ready to go ahead and start raising a pennant just yet. 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text us at 71307, is the number. Start your text with ESPN so we can read them on the air. The text line is up and running right now. You can tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo Onward. Couple of texts that have come in at ESPN. Did Mark Ryan make the appearance at Comic-Con he promised to make? No. Mark was out taking pictures with street signs this weekend. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the facebook.com/ESPN Upstate page.
And flexing. Oh, that's what he calls it.
Right. I was going to say that Mark's definition of flexing. At ESPN Upstate, I do not feel like soccer is a very exciting sport to play or to watch. Just my take. Yeah, it's not for everybody. I get it. Just like football's not for everybody. Basketball's not for everybody. I understand. That's fine. I get it. We do. That is why Lonzo and I do a little bit of everything on this show. Quick break. Back after this to wrap up hour 1 of the Rob Brown Show. Rob, Lonzo, and you right here on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your phone everywhere on the...
All right, let's check out the rest of this trailer because I'm kind of loving it so far.
Who are you? Hold on, everybody!
Hey, Kung Fu Speed.
We make a good team.
Thoughts, Lonzo? Oh, Lonzo's doing the library. Oh, Mark said next year yet again. If I am here next year, Steven, I will drag Mark Ryan kicking and screaming to Comic-Con. He will hate it. I have no doubt. You can't hear me? Check. You should be able to hear me. You couldn't hear me or you couldn't hear Lonzo? You should be able to hear me. I don't change anything on my end. Zoe, you can hear me, right?
Yes, I can absolutely hear you.
Still can't. Why can't you hear me? Steven, I'm it might be on your end because I'm looking in all of my feeds right. And if you can hear me, I come through the same input on my computer that Lonzo does. So if you can hear Lonzo, you should be able to hear me. If you can't hear either one of us, it might be on your computer's end because everything's good on my end.
Yeah, I just checked it, and I could hear you.
Okay.
So, yeah, so you're good.
All right. So what do you think about that trailer, Lonzo?
I think I love what's trending along with it, and that would be Iron Fist because it's very similar to Iron Fist. And I loved Iron Fist. So, but yeah, I love Kung Fu movies anyway. So I think it's going to be really good. And we'll see how the bad guy is. And supposedly there are tie-ins because of the Mandarin, which is the bad guy. And people are hoping that Trevor was it Slattery? I forget his last name from Iron Man 3 is like the first one like killed in the movie.
Right.
Because if you watch the shorts, there are little shorts, on the Blu-rays.
Right.
They did show up for him.
Okay.
There's a short video where they showed up for him.
There are two things. The first is what you mentioned, which is I love old style Kung Fu movies. And so to get a classic Kung Fu movie, but in the Marvel with the Marvel resources behind it could be great. The other aspect is, I know about the Ten Rings and I know about the Mandarin, but only as they pertain to big storylines within the Iron Man universe and all that. I don't know a lot about this new superhero, Shang-Chi. I don't know a lot about him. I don't know a lot of him from the comic books. So I think it'll be kind of cool, though, to be able to go into a Marvel movie, without really having a lot of knowledge about who and what I'm watching and what the backstory is and all that, because you and I will now get to experience a Marvel movie the way that people who never grew up with comic books have experienced every other Marvel movie. Well, at least me. I don't know how much you know about about Shang-Chi, but we'll get to experience it the way that non-Marvel fans have gotten to really get the experience of all the other Marvel movies, which is kind of refreshing, to tell you the truth.
By the way, Steven says it was on his end.
Perfect.
But I agree with all that. I do have some working knowledge of some of the I've heard of Shang-Chi before. I've heard of obviously the Mandarin and some things like that. So I'm not going in completely blind, but mostly blind. So I'm looking forward to it.
More than the scores, the ups and downs, the ins and outs. Real, unfiltered sports talk. It's the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here in the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Coming up in hour number 2, we get into some South Carolina athletics. Shane Beamer and his Gamecocks had scrimmage number 2 over the weekend. We've got some audio from the wrap-up after the post-game presser after the scrimmage on Saturday from Shane Beamer. Frank Martin acknowledged his new contract in a press conference over the weekend. We're going to talk about that as well. It is going to be a very busy day, or a very, very busy third hour of the show. So I want you to stick around for that. South Carolina fans, we got a lot of stuff for you. Plus, Carolina Panthers talk as well. Sam Darnold back on the field. He will be working out, or has been working out with some of his Panthers teammates. So we're going to talk about that coming up later on in the second hour. And of course, as promised, Jake Paul v. Ben Askren this weekend. Big fart noise, but I guess we'll talk about it. All that and more coming up in the next hour. Rob Lonzo, this is ESPN Upstate.
ESPN Upstate.
Well, two things, actually. I just remember, we don't have any more cash stash?
No, we do not.
That's what I thought.
It's amazing how much less work I had to do last week.
I know, right? Is there do we have a library of non-copyrighted music that we could take one song for and make it the end song for every hour so that we could let it roll on the stream so I can hear it and keep it in my head about how much time we have left?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. And technically, the song that I just let you hear a touch of, I believe that's one of them. But I got to go back and look. On our site, there is music set aside that is copyright friendly. So I just have to go back and look at it, and I will work on that today.
Perfect. Yeah, if you just want to pick one that's like upbeat, fun, rock and rolly, and then that'll just become the
Amen. I understand the format.
Sorry.
No, I don't know if you know, but I'm the one who picked all the music, so I'll find something.
Also, I kind of like that. That camera angle you just set up there.
Which I got tired of complaints, but the only bad part about it is you have to deal with a stupid Denver player in the background.
Well,
but
so I'm thinking what we do.
I could scoot him up a little bit closer. By the way, I was thinking about that.
We do. We take who is that? That's Terrell Davis, I think. We take
it is
down. We put Ken Griffey Jr. in that corner since he has been returned to his rightful home. Let's put Griffey there, and then some of the other memorabilia hanging on the walls. And I'll come up and do this one day. But we'll take some of the other memorabilia and just fill in the blank wall behind you. So we've got the banners on the left side and then a bunch of sports memorabilia on the right. But I actually like that camera angle better.
I purposefully didn't have the camera that way because you see all this stuff. But,
Yeah, we can organize that.
Although that's just like normal office stuff. So, I mean, don't mess with my ergonomics. Don't move my stuff somewhere where I have to look for it. I mean, come on. Yeah, we can do all that. We should be able to do all that pretty easily. Or we could get new memorabilia to put on the wall over there. We could do that. Like maybe like from some of the teams that you've been doing stuff with.
Or For this.
Brown Lockdown.
Represents being real.
Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob Brown, Lonzo, you. Be a part of the show. 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text us at 71307, 71307. Start your text with ESPN. We shall read them on the air. Tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word, and at ESPN Update. And, of course, join us on the stream. Join us on the stream at Facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, Twitter.com/The Rob Brown Show, Twitter.com/Lonzo on Word, and search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. You can watch the stream live. You can interact with Lonzo and I behind the scenes on Brace, kind of get a feel for how it all works. Look at Zoe in the studio. Look at me on the couch here at the Casa de Love, etc., etc., etc. All right. A lot of stuff that we are going to get to coming up in this hour of the show, but I'll start with this. Shane Beamer and his Gamecocks had their second scrimmage of the spring over the weekend. The USC had its second big scrimmage over the weekend. But Shane Beamer said afterwards there were no major injuries from the scrimmage, which is good news. Said that he was not thrilled with the shaky start from the offense. A lot of mental penalties, offsides, a couple of turnovers, but said that he was very impressed by the defensive front. Said that the defense put a lot of pressure on the offense, which was big time for him. He did express concern about down the field passing and the lack of explosive plays. Said there was not much improvement in that category from last week, but that he expects with the last week of preseason practices before the spring game on Saturday, that they will get to where they want to be. Look, Doty continues to get most of the snaps with the first team offense. Beamer said the running game continues to look good. Linebacker Sherrod Green and Mokaba and receiver Ortre Smith did not participate, but are all fine. He also said that safety Jalen Dickerson returned to practice this week. I'm not going to play all of it, but I'll give you the first couple of minutes from the post-game press conference. Here is Shane Beamer and his very immediate reaction to the second South Carolina spring game scrimmage.
Good scrimmage this morning. Good to see some people out there. I know Alshon Jeffrey was over there. It was great to see Alshon. I'm not sure about other former players. Director Fink here runs a tight ship, so I was rushed off the field as soon as the scrimmage was over to make sure I wasn't late for this press conference. But it was great to see Alshon, his second time over here this week. He was over here earlier this week as well, spending some time with us. So love seeing him and some of the other former players, I think, that were out there today. Injury-wise, we got out pretty healthy, nothing major. Sherrod Green, Mo Kaba, and Ortre were the only guys that, have been healthy that weren't able to go today. They've got some things that that nothing serious, nothing that'll keep them out, long at all, but just had some minor things that we held those guys out today. And then we had a couple guys, just a couple nicks, during the scrimmage, but nothing major. So knock on wood, we've been pretty healthy here this spring, and hopefully we can continue to. Saw some good things out there today. It's been a great week of practice. We practiced Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday this week, and I feel like we've had our best week of spring these 3 days. Just the competitive spirit and the energy out there all week long has been awesome. The offense had a great day on Tuesday. Defense sat around for 2 days and heard about it and stewed on that, and they came out on Thursday and had a great competitive practice, and both sides did on Thursday. And then I saw a lot of physicality out there this morning. Obviously in these things, there's some good you see offensively, and if it's good offensively, it's bad defensively, and vice versa. And in the first 24 plays of the scrimmage, the defense caused 3 turnovers, which that's great from a defensive standpoint. That's more than they had the entire practice on Thursday, and they did it in the first 24 plays, an interception and 2 fumbles, if I'm not mistaken. On the other hand, offensively, we can't do that, turn the ball over. That's how we get beat. We talk about not beating ourselves, and that's beating ourselves. Disappointing start overall. I felt like the initial series that we had, first group offense versus first group defense. We had some pre-snap penalties, a penalty on offense pre-snap. We had 2 offsides penalties on defense on one series. And those are the things that get you beat. We got to get that cleaned up. But the effort they played with was awesome. The physicality they played with was awesome. The energy for the most part out there was good. And the conclusion to a great week. And now we got to get ready for a big week coming up, culminating with the spring game on Saturday. And excited for that. So with that, be glad to answer any questions.
So there you go. There's Shane Beamer in the press conference on Saturday. First, tell me where you're at, man. When Shane Beamer came on board, I made no secret, I was not a huge fan. I didn't love the hire. I thought there was a chance to get some folks that were a little more experienced. He didn't really have a whole lot of it, certainly not as a head coach, not even as a coordinator anywhere. And I've come around. A big chunk of the reason I've come around is because of the number of former players that I have spoken to, some on the air, some off, that were on board. Steven Garcia was one of the first ones we had on the show, a guy that I very much like because, let's be honest, if I was a college football player, I would have been Steven Garcia. He was on board. We've seen the Alshon Jeffreys of the world who have gotten on board. I think, Lonzo, that a big chunk of being successful, and there are exceptions to this rule, but a big chunk of being on board for a college football, or I guess a big chunk of being a good college football coach is to have the players be on board with you, players who want to be there, who connect with you, who are comfortable with you, et cetera, et cetera. And the more I listen to Shane Beamer, both while he's coaching, in the post-game pressers, after spring scrimmages, et cetera, the more he's kind of selling me being a guy that I would trust my program. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee success out of Shane Beamer, but when I hear Shane Beamer talk, and I know this is going to aggravate some South Carolina fans, but I really need you to think about it from a spot more like I am, more of a non-biased perspective. He's kind of got, to me, he kind of feels like he's halfway between a Nick Saban, who really is an X's and O's guy, and at the end of the day, it all boils down to football, and Dabo Swinney, a guy that the players line up for him, they love him, he connects with them, et cetera, et cetera. He kind of sounds like a guy who's right in the middle of both of those worlds. We're a long way from kickoff and fall football, though, but every time that I hear one of these post-game pressers from Shane Beamer, I buy in just a little bit more.
I would err on the side of caution here. I mean, I'm glad that Muschamp is gone, but I want to remind everyone, at least early on and quite a bit during the middle of his tenure there, when Muschamp was on the mic talking, he sounded like he knew what he was talking about. He had all the X's and O's down. He would talk about the players. He would talk about what you need to do here, what you need to do there. It makes it sound like, man, that guy can actually coach, and guess what? He could not. So I am a little concerned. I want to see him on the field until we see the product on the field and just see the effort. Is the spring game a true sign of anything? No, but you know what you can see in the spring game? You can see effort. You can see guys out there hustling, guys out there trying to get it done. One thing that one of the major problems with the teams of the past under Muschamp was lack of effort and looking like they didn't know what they were doing at times. So if we watch the spring game and see that they know what they're doing and there's effort, even when there are mistakes, there's effort, then I'm good. But until then, hearing a coach talk is just a coach talking. I want to see what they do on the field.
You mentioned that, and the guy that flashed into my mind for just a second, though, was Randy Shannon. Remember Randy Shannon when he was the head coach at Miami? Randy Shannon was a guy that, and here's what I'm afraid of. Randy Shannon was a guy when he was at Miami that the players loved. They lined up for him, all the things that we mentioned a second ago. Randy Shannon was a guy who did big things for the team. I want to say in the 3 years Randy Shannon was the head coach at Miami, I think he had 1 or 2 players that got arrested or in trouble, which at the University of Miami is very impressive. He graduated a higher percentage of his players than any of his predecessors at the University of Miami. I mean, the guy and his teams play hard. They played hard. When Miami, and I was broadcasting in Florida during the Randy Shannon tenure, Miami was known for effort. Miami was known for getting after it when he was down there. And I was very impressed by that. But he didn't get results on the field, right? Miami did not take the next step. They weren't back when Randy Shannon was there. It was a slow process, and he never got over the hump. That is the fear. That is the fear I have for Shane Beamer at South Carolina. I'm actually going on Saturday over to the spring game, Lonzo. I'm going to go over to Columbia. It'll be my first time on campus there. I'm actually going to be at the spring game. I'm actually going to go watch it in person because I'm genuinely curious as to what Shane Beamer is going to look like on the sideline. And you're right. I do want to see the intangibles. I want to see the hustle. I want to see the effort. I want to see the care and concern. I want to see what the South Carolina fans are doing and saying there. Are they buying in, et cetera, et cetera? And I think they are from the finger in the wind that I've got so far. It seems like they're on board. But I also am looking to see execution. I'm also looking to see, all right, Shane Beamer, in that postgame audio we just played you from the scrimmage on Saturday, you heard him lay out the issues, right? The down the field passing game wasn't as strong as they'd like behind Luke Doty. Is that because Luke Doty's just not that good, or it's not in place yet? The injury bugs are good. The run game has been good. Defense getting a lot of pressure, but maybe giving up a little more yards after carry than you like. Is the tackling going to improve? I want to see an improvement from last Saturday's scrimmage to this Saturday's spring game. And if I see it, and so far from the little bit, and again, it's tough to have this conversation because we've got such a small sample size of Gamecocks football so far. But if I see marked improvement from the first scrimmage 2 weeks ago to the scrimmage this past Saturday to the final spring game on this Saturday, if I see continued marked improvement as time goes on, that is the best that I can ask for out of Shane Beamer at this point. That's what I'm looking for. Lonzo, I'm not expecting this team to come out of the gate and be a 10-2 football team. I'm not expecting them to come out of the gate and give Clemson a run for their money in the first season. What I am expecting is to be able to point to South Carolina 3 weeks into the season. I'm expecting to be able to point at them and go, that team is better than last year. That's what I want, and that's it. It's not not that it's not a high bar to meet, but last year it was the exception, not the rule. Throw it out the window, whatever. I just want to be able to see this team improving week by week, and if these guys line up for Shane Beamer the way that Stephen Garcia and Alshon Jeffrey have told me that they will, I think you're in good position. And after watching the last two spring games, it wasn't a ton of improvement from spring game 1 to spring game 2, but there was a little bit. If I go out there and see more improvement in the Saturday spring games, though, I will be happy with Shane Beamer's offseason number 1.
I think you brought up a great point. Here's what I want to see. I want to see progression from week to week and no regression, because we have seen under Muschamp the team come out and look pretty good the first couple of years. And then they kind of went downhill after that. So I think you get 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in, you're going to see what the potential of this team is. And as long as it looks like they're progressing towards getting better every single week, the effort is there and the potential is there, and you see the talent there, then I'm good. But I'm with you. I don't expect miracles this year. This is, a first-year head coach with a lot of transition as far as like at quarterback and a lot of other positions. So you got to come out, and here's what I want to see them do. I want to see them win the non-conference games that they should win, and win convincingly, not struggle.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. Week to week progression, constant progression. Show me that the weaknesses are being worked on. I can tell you, I can go back and I can look at, again, a similar situation that we talked about, Lonzo, when this hire got made. I remember distinctly having a big conversation about it. I said that especially when I was not yet on board with the Shane Beamer hire, the shades that I saw were shades of Willie Taggart coming into FSU. And that's not to say South Carolina's clear of that issue yet, right? When Willie Taggart got hired in Tallahassee, I was broadcasting down in Destin, so it was an hour and 45 minutes outside of Tallahassee. Very similar to where I am right now with South Carolina, both geographically and in terms of the crowd base that I was talking to. FSU was an hour 45 down the road. They were probably 33%, one-third of the listening audience were FSU fans. And I'd say we're about the same here. An hour 45 away, probably about 33% of the people listening to the station are South Carolina fans. Same situation happened with Willie Taggart. Young guy, players seemed to love him, talked about changing up the culture and wanting to get the culture better and younger and youthful and excited, and came in and the swag surf was there. And then it turned out that the guy just couldn't coach. There was no progression. There was no getting better. There was no improvement from week to week. You could look at the team in week 2 and see the exact same problems in week 8. Well, Shane Beamer has done all the same things that Willie Taggart did when he showed up in Tallahassee. And I was not upset by the hiring of Willie Taggart. Let me phrase that. I didn't love it at the beginning. Kind of the same situation. He had been at Oregon for 1 year, and outside of that, his experience lied at smaller schools down in South Florida. A lot of the same situation. There in Shane Beamer's background, right? Not a ton of experience. Although he had been trained up by some of the bigger names and bigger coaches in the bigger conferences, he does have that advantage. But Willie Taggart showed up, and he was all about culture and discipline and this and that and the other. Shane Beamer's kind of in the same boat. The difference in where Shane Beamer, I need to see a separation between him and the Willie Taggart hiring in Tallahassee, is that I need to see Shane Beamer actually coach. I need to see the issues that were an issue this past Saturday in the spring game, in the scrimmage number 2. When I see them play in person on Saturday, I need to know that those things were the focus in practice this week. And I'll be looking at practice reports. I think 3 practices this week. Tuesday, Thursday, and a walkthrough Friday before the scrimmage on Saturday. I could be wrong about that. That was their schedule last week. I want to see when I show up on Saturday, I want to see the issues that were issues this past week. I want to see them changed for the better on Saturday. And if they are, I will be that much more bought in. But we'll see how it plays out. South Carolina fans, you heard from your head coach. There are my thoughts. What are yours? 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text us, 71307. Texters text in and says, quote, if you want to see execution, watch one of the last 9 Clemson baseball games that they've lost in a row. Yeah, we are in the struggle bus right now with Clemson. Get swept in a 3-game series by a Miami. This past weekend, on Sunday's game, 3 consecutive innings where they gave up 3 runs to the Canes. Did not look good. South Carolina, on the other hand, went down to Baton Rouge, took down the Tigers. The LSU Tigers took 2 out of 3 on the road down in Baton Rouge. Very, very different directions between the Clemson baseball team, which is floundering right now, and the South Carolina baseball team that just went down and took a series away from a very good LSU team on the road in Baton Rouge. I have been to Alex Box Stadium there in Baton Rouge. That is one of the most intimidating college baseball stadiums in America, and South Carolina went down there and succeeded. That's impressive. Quick break. Back after this. It's the Rob Brown Show. Rob Lonzo and you on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
AutomotiveMap.com presents
There's Griff. Yeah, why don't we take Terrell down, put Griffey in his corner there. And then we'll decorate the walls around.
Yeah, there's a problem with that. It's broken.
Griff is?
Yes.
All right, I'll bring
so it needs to be taped.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
but if you put it the way it is now, you can't tell that that's why I did that.
Okay, that'll work.
You know what might look better, although I don't want to do it. I was gonna say if we could get the McGuire behind that,
Big Mac,
because then it would look like three. It would look really cool. I wish we had like a basketball player to throw in there.
We need to see if we can get some maybe dig into the spare fun chest just a little bit and see if we can get some South Carolina players to put up there with Griff. Not like from the state, not like South Carolina Gamecocks players. But I'm going to, when we get done, I'm going to ask the Triumph, the Rabbits, and the Drive if we can get some memorabilia from them to hang. Because I think if we fill those two walls behind you up, if we take down that baseball thing up on top of the cabinet and fill those things up, I think it could look really cool.
Yeah, either do that or take one of the banners and put it over across the top right there.
Yeah,
but
what if we take that banner, the one that is now off camera, the one that juts out by itself, if we take that and put it up just to the right of that one on top so it kind of fills up above the cabinet?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about doing, but I don't feel like climbing right now. So
I'm going to come up there one day this week after the show.
Come back.
Made for upstate sports junkies.
These pathetic junkies? Come on, look at them.
You eat sports like food every day. Get hooked on the Rob Brown Show, noon to 3 every weekday on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. One more bit of sound from you from South Carolina. Last Friday, we were supposed to have a press conference from Frank Martin after he received his extension from the university, but that got postponed. We've now had that presser, and Frank Martin did a press conference where he talked a little bit about the extension and did kind of a season wrap-up press conference at the same time. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to play you the first couple of minutes from Frank Martin from that press conference that he had announcing the extension and all that. I'm going to play you this. I had a knee-jerk reaction to it, but I don't like knee-jerk reactions. I think that more often than not, they're not really positive. They don't do a whole heck of a lot for you. So I'm going to play you the audio. And after it's done, Zoe, I just want off the cuff what your reaction was. I want to hear if you had the same or a similar reaction to what I had. Here is Frank Martin after it was announced that he had got the extension. This is from his press conference from a couple of days ago.
The season was real simple. It was the most challenging year of my professional career. It was really difficult. It was complicated personally, and just did, I've 36 years on a sideline, 29 as a head coach. I've had one bad year, which was this past year. Excuse my French, but I can't use another word. I did a
curse word
this past year. I didn't manage things the right way. And then some of the personal stuff I went through made it really, really difficult for me to do my job. But all that's behind me. I learned a lot this past season. I'm excited about what's in front of us. I'm excited to move forward. I'm excited about the job. I'm excited about where I'm at. I'm excited about everything. As the season ended, and I do what I do every year, which is I separate and take anywhere from 3 to 4 days to reflect on not the season, reflect on me, on how I did my job and what I need to do better and what I didn't do right, I was really unhappy with what I did this year. I was unhappy with a lot of things, the way they just broke this year. But as I reflected, I also realized how lucky I am that I've been a head ball coach 29 years, and I've had one bad year. And when you can actually reflect and say that, you tend to realize that you've been pretty lucky, that you've been fortunate to do your job fairly well for the majority of your career. And so because of that, I was able to re-engage into moving forward, and I'm as excited as I was the day I got hired here. My first press conference, and I refer to that all the time because I didn't walk in here and promise people wins or Final Fours or and none of that stuff. I promised, the only two things I promised was that my guys were going to represent the university the right way, and that my team would always go out and make everyone proud because of how hard it played and the way it played the game. And for 9 years, I've been here 9 years now. Unbelievable, time flies. For the first 8 years, that was the case each and every single day, and each and every single game our teams played. This past year, that wasn't the case, and I take sole responsibility for that. I've always taken responsibility for the bad, and I try to give the responsibility of the good to the players where it belongs. And it's what I've done my whole life, and I'm not going to change now. And so we're going to fix the things that we did wrong, and excited about moving forward and see what the future holds, man. It's life is beautiful, and I get to coach ball every single day.
So there's Frank Martin and his announcement. So gut reaction to that few minutes from Frank.
I don't like coming at a place from a negativity. Believe it or not, I don't. But to me, it just seems like a whole lot of defensive. Like, I don't know why everyone's down on me. I had one bad year. That's it. I don't normally have bad years. Look at it. It's just one bad year. He pointed out many times. It's just one bad year. That's all. I stood of, and I didn't hear a lot of rah-rah. I heard a lot of defensive, I don't deserve to be in the being fired talk. I had one bad year kind of thing. And I didn't hear a whole lot about what he's going to do in the future. And I just disappointed. It sounds like a guy who's only going to be there 1 year.
So Frank Martin, here's his records since he's taken over. He says, I've had one bad year. 14-18, 14-20, 17-16, 25-9 with an NIT second round, 26-11. He made his way to the Final Four. Since that 26-11 Final Four round, he's been 17-16, 16-16, 18-13. So that's that. Now those are overall record out of conference.
So if you average, he's average. I mean, he's right in the middle. He's 50-50. He's going to win half the games and lose half the games.
With the exception of 2015-16, where they went 25-9. They made it to the NIT second round that year. And 2016-17, that was the year they went 26-11, 12-6 in conference, and reached the Final Four. With the exception of that, Frank Martin's team have averaged around 500. If you add in those 2 years, then he averages about a 60, let's call it off the top of my head. I'm really bad at math. Let's say around a 64, 65, say 2/3 winning percentage. And it's not atrocious. But my question for Frank Martin would be, and by the way, Frank Martin went off later on in that press conference was over an hour and 7 minutes long. All right. So I'm gonna pull more sound from it. We'll have a further breakdown tomorrow when I get the chance to actually get in there and pull out some other clips. Frank Martin went after the big bad media this weekend. He had a media member ask him about the rumors that were going on this offseason, that he might lose his job, that the administration wanted him out. He popped off on the media, said, y'all, nope, you're wrong. You need to get better sources. You were reporting fake news, yada, yada, yada. And I don't know if Frank Martin has a point or not. I can only report what I hear through the grapevine. It's not exactly like most of us are able to ring up Bob Caslin and go, hey, Bob, are you really going to fire Frank Martin? Just tell me off the record, right? It's not really like we can drop that for you. But it's funny you use the word defensive, Lonzo, because that's exactly what I heard. I heard a guy who was very defensive. Not a guy, Zoe, that was, he talked a little bit towards the end about, fix the problems and work towards and move towards the future, which is great, because that's what I want. That's what you need. But it was, of that 3 minutes and 30 seconds I played you, 3 minutes of it was being defensive, was talking about the past, was talking about, I've only had one bad year. All my other 8 years have been great. And then 30 seconds of, and now we fix the problems and move forward. I don't know, man. I'm not of the mind to go after coaches, especially ones at places at schools where I talk about them to make my money, right? But I don't walk away. It's kind of the opposite of Shane Beamer's, though. I walk away from Beamer's press conferences going, okay, cautiously optimistic. I walk away from that one with Frank Martin, and I sound less like a guy who's genuinely excited about the future, and it sounds more like a guy who is really just kind of trying to hang on to a thread. And I don't know if that's unfair or not, Lonzo.
Well, obviously, you and I heard the same thing, and with that kind of attitude, you need to compare it, I guess, to years past when, even though he may be a little angry and he may come at people, at least there was a fire and a passion towards the team and what he was going to do with it. I didn't hear enough of that. And it's a small portion of from what you said of the entire press conference. So maybe that happened in other places, but in that little bit, it sounded all about, sorry for the one bad year. I don't know why it's bothering you. It's one bad year. Not enough. We know what the problems are. We're making an effort to fix them. Looking forward to the season. Cannot wait to get back on the court and show what these kids can do. I know it's rah-rah, but still, I would like to have heard some of that.
844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. South Carolina fans, those of you that have been questionable about Frank Martin, does this change your opinion? Does this reset anything for you? Quick break. Back after this. Rob, Lonzo, you. It's ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your
1 minute.
All right.
Join the Rob Brown Lockdown on Twitter. Tweet at The Rob Brown Show on the Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate, Rob Lonzo, and you. Sam Darnold already in the fold with Carolina Panthers and already working out with the boys. Panthers QB Sam Darnold wasting no time. Darnold and CMC have been working out together. They did so last week in California. Jordan Palmer, the former NFL quarterback who works as a private coach for Sam Darnold during the offseason, had a conversation with Peter King in this week's Football Morning in America podcast and said that they're already making good progress. He said, quote, "You can see the communication and chemistry being built already. They're on the same page and about a lot of things already for Sam. That's 20 plus snaps every game where the quarterback doesn't have to manufacture a play." The Panthers have signaled they believe in Darnold, having trading a 6th round pick this year, a 2nd and 4th round next year for him. Having said they'll pick up his 5th year option in 2022. He is expected to be working out with Christian McCaffrey for a long haul. This, I think, look, I don't want to read too much into it, Lonzo, because if we're being honest here, like, I expect my starting quarterback to be on the same page as my best offensive player. I expect my starting quarterback to be out there working with the skill position players around him. I expect when OTAs start, we're going to have a conversation about OTAs coming up in the next segment, because a number of teams are having their players opt out in big numbers, opt out of the voluntary OTAs because of the coronavirus. But look, I expect my QB to be putting in time in the offseason so that when OTAs hit, they're already at least on the same page as far as chemistry, as far as timing and all that. But to me, Sam Darnold could very well just be enjoying his offseason right now, sitting out there in California, relaxing and enjoying the sunshine. So the fact that he is on the field, putting time in with the best player on the team and run CMC to get that timing and get that chemistry down. If I'm a Carolina Panthers fan, I've got to be letting the optimism grow just a little bit about that.
Yeah, this goes along with what we were talking about earlier about effort. He's putting the effort in there and he's putting the time in, and I love it. I think it's great. Whether you like Tom Brady or not, he did similar things last year by getting down to Tampa and getting to know his players legally or illegally, and getting some rapport with them in a tough time. And now we're seeing Sam Darnold doing the same thing, except on the up and up, of course, because he's not Tom Brady. I love it. And if you're going to reach out to a guy on the Panthers team who is the face of the Panthers, and it is Christian McCaffrey. So that's the guy you want to work with. And let's face it, he's going to be a big part of the offense if he can stay healthy. That's a guy you want to – that's your buddy. That's your friend. He's going to take pressure off of you because that defense has to know where he is at all times, whether he's in the backfield or if he's running out as a receiver. So, yeah, I'm happy about it.
It's a great start. You're exactly right. It's a great start. And if CMC truly is the face of the Panthers franchise, which I think we would all agree he is, whether or not Sam Darnold will take over that position or not is a big fat question mark right now. But if Sam Darnold is going to work towards that spot, I appreciate the fact that he's in the fold now. And listen, he's not the only NFL players that are out there working with teammates. I'm sure he's not the only quarterback right now that's out there working with the rest of the skill position players around him. I'm sure there are plenty of other guys who are in that same boat that are putting the time in right now and getting it together. But the fact that he is doing it with Christian McCaffrey, the fact that because look, run CMC, and granted, that guy's got to make sure he's good, man. He cannot afford
to let the injury bug bite him again this season. He struggled. What, he missed 13 games last year because of injuries? He cannot afford to have that same situation play out this year. The fact that those two guys are on the same page, and I wouldn't be shocked to find out that other Panthers players, maybe Robbie Anderson's and the like, are showing up to help as well. If those guys are putting the time in, and we'll talk with Rashad Beard of the Panthers Nation podcast coming up on Thursday at 1:00 about it. If he's putting in that time now, if he's getting that effort together now, it shows me that he's genuinely ready to take over a leadership role. And I would imagine, because here's the thing about, you got Teddy Bridgewater last year. Teddy BH2O is a great dude. He's a great guy. But I never sensed, and I wasn't in the locker room. I don't have any special inside info about this. But Teddy Bridgewater never really struck me as the guy that in crunch time was going to be the takeover leader of the locker room. He never struck me as the guy that I would entrust to get it together, to be the one that the rest of the players look to, and start pushing with. I didn't see that out of him. I don't know that I see it out of Sam Darnold yet, but that's what I'm looking for. And for him to be out there on the field right now with Run CMC, getting the face of the team, the clear and evident leader of that locker room on his side, it takes, Zoe, to be a leader. It takes having the best guys in the game around you. It takes having the guys that carry that franchise to believe in you. Because if Christian McCaffrey believes in Sam Darnold, if Christian McCaffrey is going around telling the locker room, Sam Darnold's the guy, he's the one, I am putting my time in to make sure we're on the same page because I believe he can do this and be that guy, then the rest of the team that look up to him will in turn look up to Sam Darnold as well. And Lonzo, I think any NFL coach will tell you, there is no way to quantify it, but there may not be anything more important in football and success at the NFL level than having a locker room that is cohesive, that is on the same page. So for CMC to be out there doing this with Darnold shows that he believes in Darnold, that he wants to build chemistry and communicate with Darnold. And if he does, the rest of the locker room doesn't really have a choice but to buy in at that point.
Well, the other thing is we don't know what kind of locker rooms Sam Darnold has had to deal with the Jets other than the fact that they never won. And, coming to a new place, getting a new start and being a veteran, which he is, so he knows what it takes and how an NFL team works. And it's just such a good move. And it doesn't sound like it's just a PR move. He's out there doing what he needs to do to get ready. And you're right. With the backing of Christian McCaffrey, it makes it easier to get the backing of everybody else.
I know what kind of locker room Sam Darnold has to deal with. A dumpster fire of a locker room. A locker room where guys like Jamal Adams demanded a trade to get out. I mean, the best players in the Jets locker room have demanded trades to get out of New York. That's kind of locker room. And I don't care how good of a leader you are. If the locker room is poisoned by the leadership, by the administrative, by the front office, there is no rescuing it, even if you are Brady himself. Let's get a couple of calls in here before we take a break. Jason is on the line, wants to respond to the comments from Frank Martin's press conference. Jason, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the minute, man. Great to have you.
Hey, thank you. This is looking through Frank Martin's South Carolina career. I think 6 out of 9 seasons he either finished below 500, at 500, or a game or two above 500. That, to me, overall, man, that's just not good. And what are the expectations there? Yeah, you can say he did make the Final Four, and that was a great accomplishment. Average coaches, make the Final Four. It happens quite often. LSU's John Brady several years ago. You remember the Georgia Tech's? They made the national championship game. They didn't have a great coach, Mike Davis. What he did with Indiana, I don't really know what he's doing now. Even when win a national championship, Ollie from UConn. It happens. But with Frank Martin, I don't get the expectations that for basketball in this state of South Carolina and Clemson. It's like one time making the NCAA tournament one time and out of 9 years, and one other time you make the NIT. The rest of the years you just don't even make the NIT. what's going on with that? So that's all I have to say about him. It's he's just been very average, and I don't get why he's still the coach. Thanks for taking my call.
Jason, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I guess the conversation here, and as a sports talk dude, this is not one that I love to have because I think it's a very bland conversation, though. But I think the question has to be asked at this point, what are and what should be the expectations for South Carolina basketball? If your expectations are the second round of the NIT and make a tournament once every 8 years, then I guess you're in good shape. I guess you're in a good spot. But when I watch Clemson making it deep into NITs, when I watch Clemson competing for the ACC, when I watch Clemson making it to tournaments, and maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe we need to have a conversation. I'll bring this back up in the third hour. I'll ask you a genuine question, and I'll ask this of everybody, from Clemson fans, South Carolina fans, and fans of other schools in the area. To me, Lonzo, I have been working here under the mindset of there is no reason that South Carolina fans, whether it's basketball or football, there is no reason that South Carolina fans should not have the expectations to be on par with Clemson and everything. They have the same territory you do. They have the same, and they have more resources now because their football team's at the top. But on an average year, you have the same resources at South Carolina. In fact, I would argue maybe even a little bit better with the SEC Net and ESPN behind you. Should the expectations for South Carolina be the same as Clemson, even in a basketball court? And so my answer is yes. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, why do they play? I mean, according to Herm Edwards, you play to win the game.
Play to win the game.
They're not out there thinking, let's be average. No, they're going out there to play and win the game, and they're putting forth the effort to do that. So, again, everyone has talked about how good Frank Martin is. I didn't realize how average he truly has been. And it just goes to show South Carolina, like Clemson, like other football schools, they don't care as much about basketball, so being average is okay.
844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text us at 71307. 71307 is the text line. I want to hear from you. Take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 2 right here on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say...
Griffey has hit the floor.
Uh-oh. Griffey down. Oh, no, he just bent over?
No, it completely fell off.
Oh, his top half fell off.
Yeah, and it was doing it as I was talking. You didn't hear it in the background, but I did.
So now we have Griffey's pants. It's a fat pants. R.I.P. Griff. We had a good run.
One minute.
All right. Will we have time to get that caller in? Very quickly?
I don't know. I mean, you can give it a shot. We'll have about a minute.
Yeah, it'll be fine. I'll just tell him.
Well,
get on the hurry.
No, I don't know. We won't really have a minute.
Okay, I'll just tell him. I'll just ask him to hold over.
He's not messing around. Real, unfiltered sports talk on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
I mean, I'm messing around a little bit. That's kind of the fun of the show, right? Rob Brown, Lonzo with you here in the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Ricky, do me a favor. I want you to hold. We got a short little 2-minute break coming up here in a minute. And if you will hold through, I will bring you up right out of the gate to start the next hour. I've only got about 30 seconds here, and I don't want to shortchange you. So, Ricky, hang on. Coming up in the next hour, I'm going to ask you the question. It's a question I actually have not asked since I've been here, surprisingly. Is it fair of me to expect South Carolina's expectations to be the same as Clemson's? I expect South Carolina to have the same expectations. I'm not talking like I immediately demand Final Fours and national championships like this minute. But long term, as we move forward, I would expect them to have the same expectations as Clemson. Is that fair? Is that fair? There's a question that I'm throwing at you in the next hour of the show. 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text us 71307. We'll hit that conversation when we come back. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate.
ESPN Upstate, WYRD.
So out of all the wrestlers that you met, was any one of them bigger than what you thought they would be as far as height-wise goes?
No, in fact, they were
Sammy looked pretty short.
They all. I mean, like I knew Darby wasn't a big guy because that's kind of the shtick, you know. I knew that Sammy was a little small. I think I was surprised by how big Jake the Snake was. Like I knew
big as in broad or as in fat?
As in tall.
Oh, okay.
Jake the Snake's taller than I am.
Is he really?
Yeah, look, there's me and Jake the Snake. He's taller
than me.
Actually,
I did see that picture, and I didn't even think about that till now. Yeah.
Jake the Snake's bigger than I am.
So he's what, 6'5", 6'6"?
I'm 6'3", so he's probably 6'4", maybe 6'5". I mean, and so in this picture of me and Jake the Snake, dude, I am standing up straight, mainly because anytime I take a picture with somebody taller than me, I try to stand up as straight as I can. And look at him. He's slouched over and an inch taller than me, Lonzo.
I just noticed his finger. That's offensive.
Yeah, so here's the first one I took, right? That's the first one I took. And then he goes, so I think I told this when I met him for the first time. Jerry said, Jake, this is Rob Brown. He's the one that's been hyping us on the radio. And when he told Jake that, Jake said, You're the radio guy? And I said, yeah. He goes, well then bleep you. And he gives me the finger and he starts laughing hysterically like it's the funniest thing he's ever said. And so anyway, after we took the first picture with the fight fist stuff, he was like, do another one with me with the finger. And I was like, all right, Jake. I mean, even Jake the Snake, I'm not going to say no. But here's what I loved. So knowing the struggles that Jake the Snake Roberts has been through,
warning.
Man, check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real.
That's cool. Ricky's still hanging on, by the way.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Third hour of the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. Let's set this conversation up. Frank Martin, we heard from Frank Martin press conference that he had a couple of days ago after the 2-year contract extension was announced. And Frank said, I've been here 9 years. 8 of them have been good years. I've only had one bad year, and it was this past year. And nobody wanted me fired. That's hashtag fake news, et cetera, et cetera. So we went and looked at Frank Martin's 8 years. With the exception of the 2 years in the middle of his tenure at South Carolina. In the middle of those 2 years, South Carolina made it once to the second round of the NIT, and a second year made it to the Final Four. And we've talked about that at length. Outside of those 2 seasons, of all the rest, Frank Martin has been a guy that's been hovering around 50%. If you add those 2 years in, he's hovering around we'll be generous and call it a 2/3 winning percentage. But he's got 2 tournament appearances, one in the NIT, made it to the second round and got bounced, and one to the NCAA tournament, made it to the Final Four that year, which I think most of us would say, with all due respect, is an anomaly for Frank Martin in his career at South Carolina. So we started talking about expectations, and I asked Lonzo the question. I asked you guys the question. The phone line is up for you at 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. My expectations for South Carolina's basketball program are every bit as high as they are for Clemson's basketball program. You got the same recruiting territory. You got the same resources, right? That if Brad Brownell can take Clemson to NCAA appearances, to round of 32s and 16s, if Brad Brownell can have his team competing for a conference title in the ACC, my expectations are the same for South Carolina. You're working with the same resources in the same recruiting territory and in a basketball conference that I think the last 2 years, the SEC has made real ground up in catching up with the ACC. But overall, the ACC traditionally is the basketball conference in the area, right? And if Brad Brownell has been able to take Clemson there, to me, there is absolutely zero reason that South Carolina can't do the same in the SEC. And I extend those expectations to the world of football as well. Listen, Clemson is doing something special right now. All right, they just are. Let's call it what it is. Clemson's doing something special with the dynasty they have built right now. They got very lucky to luck into Dabo and build this dynasty. But to me, there's no reason
that South Carolina can't expect to be comparable to Clemson in football. Agree or disagree, talk to the dude who's still relatively new in the area, who's still getting a feel for it. Ricky is on the line. Ricky, I appreciate you taking a minute. Great to have you on the show, bud. Thank you.
My man, I appreciate it. Nice to meet you. I'm back, actually, funny enough, from Tampa when the COVID hit, and I moved there with my wife so she could finish school, and it's been a nightmare, but I am back.
Welcome
Thank God.
back to the
It's
upstate.
good to hear some fresh. Yeah, man. But back to your initial question. Yeah, we should be frustrated. What does that boil down to? The athletic director. I really love Ray Tanner as a baseball coach. But since he's gotten the job, I mean, we got Muschamp. Frank Martin looked good on paper. He just hasn't delivered. The baseball team's doing okay, and the girls' basketball is exciting. Although we, got booted out, I think, by Stanford. But athletic director like Ray, I don't understand. Maybe that's the problem. But I do expect us to be on the Clemson level, so I do agree with you.
So and I guess that's the question I'm asking: is it unfair of me to expect South Carolina to reach to where to reach to be where Clemson doing what Clemson is doing right now? And we can kind of, since we're talking Frank Martin, focus this on basketball. But I'm looking. You're wedged in the middle of North Carolina, a basketball state, Virginia, a basketball state, right. West Virginia, a basketball state. Tennessee's a football state, but they put out pretty consistent talent. I'm looking at the teams around us, the Tennessees, the North Carolinas, the Dukes, the Clemsons, the Virginias, the Virginia Techs, all of which have fielded competitive basketball programs, even if there's not necessarily a national title in the last few years to share around. They're competitive, and they're all Final Four caliber. With Virginia's got the one title from 2 years ago. I'm looking at South Carolina, and my expectations are, I'm very sorry, but a 20 and 18 year is very pedestrian to me when I'm watching Brad Brownell take Clemson into the second round of the tournament.
Right, I agree with you, and it's again frustrating as Gamecock fans typically already know this stuff. We stick by our team, but it is a disappointment year in, year out that when you can't get the recruiting. Like I said, Frank Martin, that was a sexy pick when we got him as a hire, but he hasn't produced. I don't know who would be up in the running but anybody that's going to come in and get wins and get to the tournaments, at least in the deep Elite Eight, or Sweet 16, that Final Four year was epic for Gamecock basketball fans or just Gamecock fans in general. Beating Duke, I don't remember the whole run, but it was prominent teams. We need a team that is that team, just like Dawn Staley has made the program for the girls. Where you at, Martin? I mean, show yourself.
Ricky, great call, man. Appreciate you taking the time. Thanks. Welcome back to the Upstate. I hope to hear from you more often, pal. 844-GSP ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text us at 71307. Start your text with ESPN so we can read them on the air. Tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo One Word, and at ESPN Upstate. So Gamecocks fans, we heard from Ricky right there. I have said specifically on the basketball court, specifically. Now, with that being said, I want to make abundantly clear, as I mentioned a minute ago, and I'll mention again, and Zoe, chime in if I'm wrong on any of this, I would not compare yourself in the football world to expect to be where Clemson is right now. Clemson has won the lottery, all right? And it happens to programs every now and then. It happened to Alabama with Nick Saban, and really, that's really the only recent example over the past even decade and a half that you can say. And I think that points out how impressive it is. But Clemson has won the football lottery, and they are going to be a dynasty for a while. Unfortunately for them, they won it with a younger guy in Dabo. At some point, Nick Saban, even though the guy's, 70 years old and looked like he's in his 50s, at some point, Nick Saban's going to have to walk away. Bobby Bowden had to walk away. Bear Bryant had to walk away. At some point, they got to walk away. And you'll notice that when Bear Bryant walked away, Alabama kind of came back and became a regular team. When Bobby Bowden walked away, FSU had a couple of good years under Jimbo Fisher, won a national championship in 2013. But after that went sour, FSU was bad. Now, At some point, Dabo Swinney's going to move on. Whether he just gets tired of winning, I doubt it, or decides to retire probably years from now. Clemson has won the lottery with where they are in college football. So I don't think if I'm South Carolina, I'm setting my expectations at be where Clemson is today. But I think I am setting my expectations at be where Florida is, be where Georgia is, be where Auburn has been off and on the last few years. I do think that I set my expectations there, Lonzo. With the basketball program, I absolutely set my expectations at the very least, at where Brad Brownell has the Clemson Tigers right now. I set my expectations at we expect to make the tournament more often than we don't. We expect when we don't make the tournament, we'll be in the NIT and to be contenders in that tournament. We expect better than 500 seasons, right? We expect better than that. I set my expectations at where Clemson is right now, at the very least. And that is why I think, Lonzo, with that, the buyout gets cut in half next year for Frank Martin. The year after that, there is no more buyout for Frank Martin. I think that I'm hoping what that means is that Bob Caslin and Ray Tanner and everybody in the athletics department has set the bar at we do better than 500 or we move on. And the question of, well, who's next in line? I don't care. I would rather take a gamble on somebody getting us above 500 than just understand every year we're a 500 ball club and we'll be happy if we're in the NIT. So it's not good enough for me.
Well, it was the same thing with Shane Beamer. I mean, you know, it wasn't about the sexy name. It's about them moving on and getting somebody else. And they're going to have to do the same thing with Frank Martin. It's not that hard to have 500 seasons. I guess you could do worse. You absolutely could. But the fact that he's had that many 500 seasons and they've been okay with it because there were a couple winning seasons right in the middle, eventually you got to move on. We know that this is it for him, unless the transfer portal experiment works and he's able to. What kind of record would he have to have this year to keep his job the following year? Would they have to go deep in the NCAA tournament? Would they have to compete for the SEC? What would they have to do in order for him to keep his job?
I mean, I think make it, right? I think I'm not asking for a deep run. Like I said, I'm setting my thought, Zoe, would be, like I mentioned, I set my expectations at where Clemson is. I set my expectations. What did Clemson do this year? Competitive in the ACC. Yeah, they got blown out by Miami in the opening round, but competitive in the ACC, made the tournament, got to the first round. You do that, cool. It's a spot. I put the same thing on Frank Martin, though, that I said about Shane Beamer back at the beginning of the second hour. The exact same thing. I expect you to show me improvement every single year. That's it. Now, at some point, you're going to hit a ceiling where you go, this is as good as this program can be. We can't do better. Whether it's a Final Four appearance or under the Elite Eight with some growth, just show me growth. Show me that you're getting better. Show me a step in the next direction, and I'll be good. Since the Final Four appearance in 2016, Lonzo, have we seen improvement in South Carolina's basketball program?
No, we have not. And here's the thing. Beamer has a different set of expectations than Frank Martin has. You want him to do better, but you have a past there. You see how many years he's actually been with the team and what you get year after year. So you know what to compare it to. You know what to look at it and go, okay, this looks like more of the same. And then you know it's time to move on. I think he has to far exceed what he's done in the past. And he's got to at least make it deep in the playoffs. They've done that once, but he's got to at least do that. He's got to at least be right up there, one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the SEC. If not, he's gone.
844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text line's open at 71307. Start your text with ESPN. When we come back in just a minute from right now, got a special interview coming up for you. There is a very, very cool event coming up called Bear Shadow. It is a music festival this weekend up in the Highlands. I am very excited about it. And we are going to tell you a little bit more about that because it is something that is big to the Odyssey group, and we want you to be involved. So we'll talk to you about that coming up in the next segment. Then we'll take more of your phone calls in the third segment of the show. So go ahead and prep them up now. What do you expect out of South Carolina? What do you expect out of Frank Martin in order to justify the contract extension that he just signed? Quick break. We're back after this. Rob Alonzo, you on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown.
I got one more picture from Sunday that I think you'll appreciate, Lonzo. My favorite cosplay of the weekend was Snow White Mandalorian. I know you said something, but your mic wasn't on, so I didn't hear what it was.
Stupid button. I said, yeah, I saw you post that. That is pretty cool. When you can mix genres.
All the way included to the poison apple thermal detonator.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't see that part.
Yep.
Oh, that adds so much.
Yep. The poison apple thermal detonator. Loved it.
That is taking it to a totally different level there.
There's me and King. Pretty much love them. And yes, I'm just showing off for the stream at this point.
See, the bad part is I walked away after getting that autograph and realized I didn't take a picture.
Yep.
And but you know what I have? I have an hour's worth of video with those guys. So I have that. That's cool.
There's Lex. And then I've got, I don't know if you'll be able to make it out, but I'm starting what I've been told is going to be a 2 to 3 year D&D campaign in the next 2 months.
Yeah, you told me about that.
I picked up the new drinking vessel.
By the way, I bought something from that place too. It's etched in glass, right?
Yep.
I got a Goku mug.
Nice.
One of the big mugs. It's really, really cool.
Yep.
But I ran into a problem, which I kind of knew I had the problem, but I did it anyway, is I bought some things that I have no place to put. And so I'm trying to rearrange some things. And then I thought about, well, I can just bring it to work. And it's like, no, I don't want to bring that to work. So I may have to take some things down from home, bring those to work, and put the cool stuff that I bought this year at home.
By the way, we're going to be, the young lady we're interviewing is going to be calling in. So
okay.
All right, sorry, keep going. Didn't mean to interrupt. Oh, that must mean she's calling in.
She is standing by.
Perfect.
But my wife is watching, but we are about to lose a couple of tenants, which will open up some space all over the place.
Perfect.
Not that I will be allowed to use said space.
It may not be your space, but it
Well,
will be space.
things have a way of, it's kind of inching. You've seen in The Office how things just kind of inch. I'll just take a little bit more. Although I got to say on the Zoom call this morning, that empty wall back there really stands out. As we've been dealing with an empty wall in here, we know that, it's not good. So until you get back, maybe I should just pull a bunch of pictures of you off of your social media and just make a collage. And it'll be like you're there with me the entire time.
Creepy, but also complimentary.
ESPN. Text keyword ESPN and your message to 71307. Get in the game on the Rob Brown Show. Only on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob and Lonzo with you on a beautiful Upstate Monday afternoon. Just up the road from us coming up this weekend is going to be an incredible music event. You know that Zoe and I are both audiophiles, both of us musicians, both of us love music, and that's why we're very happy to welcome on the phone line Miss Casey Reed joining us here on the program. She's a partner at 11 Events,
and is the festival director for Bear Shadow, which is coming up this weekend. Casey, welcome to the show. It's great to have you. Thanks for taking a few minutes.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Of course, absolutely. I was a couple of weeks ago talking to Christian, who is one of the folks who works with us here at Odyssey, and she said, "Hey, we got this music festival coming up in a couple of weekends up towards the Highlands," and she sent me a list of some of the folks that are going to be playing, including St. Paul and the Broken Bones, who I've seen before, put on an incredible show. And she said, "Would you like to help with this project?" And I thought, what an incredible music fest. Casey, you guys put a heck of a lineup together, man.
Thank you. We're super excited to be bringing back live music safely and in a fun way. It's a 3-day and night music festival in Highlands, North Carolina, and we're really excited about it. We're excited that an event's actually going to take place.
Yeah, it's funny. We've been talking about, obviously, for those of us in the sports world, Casey, the pandemic was kind of terrible because we really, for a while, we thought we were going to lose sports. We've been dealing with sports without spectators for the better part of a year and some change now. But those of us that are music fans, I mean, not having live music, even down to, acoustic singer-songwriters in small local bars, it has been kind of painful. But now that we're kind of starting the process of getting back to normal, to be able to not just have a festival, but to have some of the names that you guys have in, the multiple genres that are going to be represented, from bluegrass and blues to folk and soul, I can't imagine that there's not a lot of excitement amongst music fans from around the Carolinas.
I think so. I think from a fan standpoint, from an artist standpoint, and certainly from the crew standpoint that hasn't worked in over a year, this is a really big moment for us all. I think it's going to be a really uplifting and inspiring weekend. The setting of this music festival is actually at a 50-acre farm right outside of the town of Highlands called Winsfield Farm. And that beautiful setting is allowing us to create a pod-style show where everyone's, outdoors and socially distant. So it's a safe way to return to music, but it's going to be really epic. Incredible views, lots of room to spread out. I think it's going to be a really uplifting, inspirational moment when we all can convene together and, the lights come on and the sound is on and we can just dance under the stars.
And that was that. I've talked with with a couple of friends about this festival because it is one of the first festivals to get us back underway here in the area. And what I think is really cool is that you talked about that pod system. You guys are calling them coves, the little coves, which are all going to be socially distanced and all that. Tell us about how that system's going to work. Because again, I know a lot of folks want to get back to music, want to get back out and see festivals and all that, but they are worried about the social distancing and will guidelines be. But you guys have put a really cool system into play to make sure that people can come out, enjoy the fest, enjoy the music, but still stay safe during the end of the pandemic.
Absolutely. That was one of our number one priorities, obviously, to create this in a safe way. So folks will all be assigned to either 4, 6, or 8-person coves, which stands for contained outdoor viewing environments. But basically, in layman's terms, there are 10 by 10 squares that folks and their cove members are assigned to. They can safely watch the show from their cove. If they leave the cove for any reason to visit concessions or the merch tent or whatever, they have to mask up. So anytime they leave the cove, they have to mask up. But inside their cove, they can enjoy food and beverage and all the good things that make a festival fun.
We are talking here with Casey Reed, a partner at 11 Events. She is the festival director for Bear Shadow, which will be taking place this weekend up in the Highlands of North Carolina. I was looking at the lineup, Casey, and I'm really impressed by it. I have been able to see a number of these performances, but one of the things I'm most interested in, Thursday night, you guys are doing a little Earth Day opening night with keyboardist and conservationist Chuck Lavelle. That guy, I actually knew him before this popped up. I think it's one of the reasons that Kristen asked me to work with you guys. He has worked with the Allman Brothers. He's worked with Eric Clapton, the Rolling Stones, and more. I mean, you guys are kicking off with a legend who, even if you don't know him, you've heard his songs on the radio because Mick Jagger has sung them, and Eric Clapton has sung them, and the Allman Brothers have sung them. What a cool way to get it started.
We are so incredibly excited and honored. Part of our whole mission for Bear Shadow is not only celebrating live music, but also the great outdoors. And our partnership this year with the Highlands Cashers Land Trust is a big part of the whole weekend. The Land Trust is the oldest land trust in North Carolina and works to conserve lands and put them into conservation easements so that we can enjoy them for generations to come. So we thought, what better way to kick off the weekend on Earth Day is to invite Chuck Lavelle up to have a special viewing of the 2020 documentary. It was called Chuck Lavelle Tree Man. And it's all about not only his work in the music industry, but also with environmental conservation. So we're going to have a beautiful night at the farm at Old Edwards. People will get to see a special viewing of that film, and then Chuck will have some surprise musical performances. So we were really pumped about that weekend and that he's decided to join us.
Miss Casey Reed joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate as we get set for Bear Shadow this weekend. Very excited about it. So you guys have the Coves, you have the viewing experience all set up. It's going to follow the protocols. But you guys also have this kind of base camp, you're calling it, which is where the festival is going to take place. It's contained. You've got food and drink vendors and all that. For folks who are going to be able to be there, who are purchasing tickets and coming out, what can you tell them a little bit about the experience at base camp?
Yeah, base camp, like I was saying, it was at Winfield Farm, an incredible 50-acre horse farm right outside of Highlands. It's just a 10-minute drive from Highlands Main Street. And from the moment you drive in, it's tree-lined streets and orchards and a beautiful open pasture where the stage will sit. There's a cantilever hay barn from the 1800s that frames the whole pasture out. So it's a really kind of epic view. Kind of a dream location for a music festival. So yeah, we'll have huge stage, all the viewing pods safely laid out, but like every good festival, there'll be fabulous food vendors, a great bar, merchandise for sale from artists and from Bear Shadow. So all the good things you'll expect, but just a little bit different to keep people safe.
Love it. We are speaking with Casey Reed from 11 Events. She is the festival director for Bear Shadow, which is going to be an incredible, incredible festival this weekend, produced by Highlands Festivals. They are going to have Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors, Jamestown Revival, Mandolin Orange, Shelby Cove, St. Paul and the Broken Bones, the Warren Treaty, and more artists. Chuck Lavelle is going to get kicked off on Thursday night. The main festival is Friday and all the way through Sunday. There are going to be excursion activities. There are going to be acoustic performances up on top of Satula Mountain right there by the camp. Man, Casey, you guys have put together an incredible event. I know it's going to be awesome. I'm hoping I can make it up that way this weekend to spend some time. I know the folks listening, we're going to have a bunch of folks that are up that way. Anything you want to tell folks to keep an eye out for when they come up to the Highlands this weekend?
Sure. So we have tickets left for Friday and Sunday show. We're sold out on Saturday, but you can still grab tickets for Friday show and Sunday show at bearshadowNC.com. Please come join us. There's lots of things to do during the day in the town of Highlands, from fly fishing to hiking to enjoying the great outdoors to great restaurants and shopping. So there's a little something for everyone. And we'll have free yoga in the park every morning. We'll have drive-in movies if you can't make it out to base camp. So there's a little something for everyone. And it's just an incredible setting in Western North Carolina. So we hope you can join us.
Love it. Love it. It's Casey Reed from 11 Events joining us here on the Rob Brown Show. Casey, thank you very much for the time. I know you guys are going to put on
a
heck of a festival. I can't wait.
We so appreciate it. Hope to see you there.
Absolutely. Hope to be seen there. Thank you very much. That's Casey Reed again. You can check out more on their website at bearshadowNC.com. bearshadowNC.com. You can purchase your tickets there, purchase a Cove there. Zoe, as a music guy, I hate to be dramatic here, but man, does it kind of lift my soul a little bit that we're getting back to live music and music festivals where even if it's socially distanced and even if those guidelines are in place, the fact that we can all get together and watch some phenomenal events take place, man, that it just feels good, Zoe. It feels normal.
Yeah, it was funny. While I was out mowing my lawn yesterday, I started thinking, this is a time of season where all the festivals happen, especially music-wise. We played a bunch back in the day, and just thinking about how they were all gone, it's so cool that they're starting to come back.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thanks to Casey Reed and everybody for helping us get that set up. Let's take a break. We'll come back. I asked you the question earlier. Now I'm looking for answers. Is it unfair of yours truly to set my expectations for South Carolina athletics, basketball, football specifically, but is it unfair of me to set my expectations for South Carolina at the same level that I set them for the Clemson Tigers? That's my question. Quick break. We're back after this on The Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on.
Griffey he just can't
keep it together.
No. It's not worth me putting more effort into it. Sorry.
No,
I can't stomach him falling, which has happened twice now.
I'm going to come up there one day.
He ain't falling easy either. I want you to know that. Although, maybe I should set it back up or wait till about 5 or 10 till to set it back up. So when it falls next time, it will fall when Diesel's in here.
I'm going to come there one day this week with a yardstick and some tape, and I'll put all the.
So you don't want me to scare your guy.
Again.
You don't want me to scare your boy. I get it.
I do. I'm not coming to do it today.
No, what I'm saying is I may go over there about 5 till, set it back up, just so it will fall at some point while he's on the air. Hopefully on the air. Maybe he would have to dump himself. I'm surprised he's back from the desert. It looked like he was enjoying.
Made it back?
No. All his social media posts, he acted like he really enjoyed himself. Like he
was having a good time.
Like everything was better there. You have a Prisma Health in next break.
No Harley Davidson today?
No.
Okay. We got a real jam going now.
Also, there will be a video reposted of the Zoom meeting this morning that you might want to check out.
Okay.
You were on the email, but I guess you forgot, which is fine. A lot of people did. Unless you were, it's about Radiothon.
Yes.
Yeah, you should check it out because there's some things on there that are really cool that you need to know about.
Okay. Where's it getting posted? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
When I do know, I'll make sure I'm sure Mark will put it out to everybody. Thirty seconds.
Hey, Rob can read, so he says. Email Rob Brown at ESPNUpstate.com and we'll put him to the test. This is the Rob Brown Show, local sports talk on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. Rob Alonzo and you. 844-GSP, ESPN, 844-477-3776 is the number. So I asked earlier in the show, and we've had a couple of calls. I'm looking for a few more. Asked earlier in the show, I said, look, here's the deal. I look at South Carolina after the extension of 2 years of Frank Martin. And granted, I want to be fair about this conversation. I think it is important, Lonzo, to point out regarding the extension that South Carolina did do itself a bit of a favor in the structuring of this extension, right? I think that they structured it in a very friendly way. It set it to where if they were to get rid of Frank Martin next year, that buyout would be prorated down to $3 million as opposed to the $6 million that it was set up with this year. The year after that, if they get rid of Frank Martin, there is no more buyout. It would just be straight up hasta luego, muchacho. He is out the door. And that would be true for the next 2 years unless a new extension is signed into place. On the flip side, if Frank Martin was to leave the contract to take another job or just to retire and get out of the game at any point, the school would not owe him any money and he would not owe the school any money. It would be a clean split. So I do want to point out before we engage in the second half of this conversation, Lonzo, that I think South Carolina took some steps to protect itself and to effectively create a demand to Frank Martin of produce or you're gone. Produce or you're gone. If Frank Martin, as he did in that press conference, and if you missed the audio of it earlier, you can go back to ESPNUpstate.com, grab the podcast right at the top of ESPNUpstate.com. There is a page that says podcast. Click on it, go to the Rob Brown Show podcast, and listen at the beginning of hour number 2, the 1 o'clock hour, and you can hear the audio from Frank Martin that we played earlier in the show. So Frank Martin said, "Hey, look, I've been here 9 years. I've had one bad year. My one bad year was this year." And he went on to talk, Zoe, about how, I didn't promise Final Fours and championships when I got here. I promised that our guys would play hard and that our guys would give it their all. And you would be proud to have our guys represent your university. And my response to that, Lonzo, was, I don't care. I mean, yes, I want that. But to me, Zoe, isn't that the baseline expectation? Like, that's a baseline expectation that the guys on your team that you recruit and bring in there will play hard. You know what other coach I expect that out of? All of them. Every coach. I expect every coach in America down to elementary school PE teachers to put together a squad that competes and plays hard and, you're proud of them wearing the jerseys, and that's all well and good, but that's not a special expectation. I'm not going to let you off the hook for being a 500 ball coach after 9 years because the guys tried. Yeah, they better. They're D1 college athletes, Lonzo. Am I being too harsh here?
No, you're not. And I agree with you, and I'm right there with you. But at the same time, what could he say that would make you go, okay, all right. I'm down with this. He's gonna be all right. Is there anything he could say? Because I don't think there is. I mean, maybe be less defensive, maybe be a little more rah-rah. But either way, I think as far as Frank Martin goes, his time has passed as far as proving ground goes. And this is his final year. Without a doubt, this is his final year.
So you're calling it. He's done after this year.
Unless if he brings home,
he makes a run.
Yeah, unless he makes a major run, yes, he's done. We've already seen things, moves or acts of desperation, at least I believe, as far as what he's doing in the transfer portal. Yeah, you got to replace kids, but at the same time, he's not doing it with recruits. He's doing it with people who played other places because he knows that his job is on the line. And you get real defensive also when you know your job is on the line. And he's not going to be here. Wouldn't even shock me if he doesn't make it through the entire season. If he starts off the season and gets partway through and is playing the kind of basketball, they're playing the kind of basketball they've been playing as of late, he may not make it through the entire season.
Yeah. I mean, look, Zoe and I had the same reaction to the audio. Frank Martin sounds defensive. I think he knows his back's against the wall, right? He knows that. He's got to know that after the way this offseason has played out for him. His back's against the wall, and the expectations are now there, and they're not fluid anymore, right? I think I don't know exactly where the marker is drawn. I don't know exactly what the expectations are. Like if Bob Caslin and Ray Tanner have gone to Frank Martin and said, okay, we expect you to make the tournament this year. We expect you to make it to the third round of the SEC tournament, and we expect you to accomplish X, Y, Z. I don't know if those markers are clear to Frank Martin. I would hope that they are. But I don't know if they are. With that being said, Frank Martin sounded defensive. He sounded like he knew that the writing is on the wall if he doesn't get it done this year. And I am very sorry. I'm not saying this with any level of disrespect. But I'm not going to accept, well, I had one bad year and all I ever promised you was that the kids were going to play hard. You know who else is going to promise that? Every coach who gets hired by a university anywhere at any level to coach. So if South Carolina called right now the studio line and they said, hey guys, we're looking for a new coach for the basketball team. And what we're looking for is somebody who's going to make sure that the team plays hard and represents the university well. So if those are the requirements, we would both be able to be South Carolina's coach yesterday.
Absolutely. And might do better.
Yeah, it's not enough. That's not enough. I'm not saying that you have to promise a Final Four run every single year. I'm not asking for Mike Krzyzewski here. But I am saying that I never promised Final Fours. I never promised championships. I just promised these guys would play hard and represent the university well. Like, cool. Of course you did. That's a baseline expectation. Lonzo, if you and I were hosting, or if you and I tomorrow got tasked with finding a new host to add to the lineup here on ESPN Upstate, and we called two guys, and the first guy we auditioned said, I promise you that within a year, we will have this station in the top 5 in all ratings books. And then we called a second guy, and he said, I promise you, I will talk about sports on the radio. Like, yeah, I feel like one of those two guys stands out, right?
Which one of those guys was recommended by Mark Ryan? Because that might be a strike right there. I don't know.
I mean, in fairness, I got recommended by Mark Ryan. So.
Yeah, I know. That was
perfect. Just make sure we're on the same page here.
No, you're absolutely right. You want to go with the guy who's talking about the ratings, but at the same time, they also need to talk about sports on the radio. So if we could combine the two, I get your point, and it was a bad joke. I apologize.
No, I get what you're saying. You finished your thought.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, anybody for any job, the first thing you're going to say is, hey, we're going to do this. This is our expectations. Yeah, because your expectation of your job is to do your job well. I mean, we're hiring you to come in and do a good job. We're not hiring you to come in and do a mediocre job where you're just kind of meh. And that's what he's been doing. And are you okay with that? I guess they might be. They might be.
Yeah. If we're hiring a sports talk radio host, I promise you I will talk about sports. That's not, yes, that's the job. That's the job. That's like, I'm asking you what else you're going to put on the table here. That's the job. So I don't get being all defensive, being all upset, and, hey, all I promised was that kids would play hard. Well, I'd hope so. That's your job. That's the point. When we come back, Twitter trending topics. Zoe tells me what's trending on Twitter. I give you 30 to 45 seconds about what I know about it. And if I don't know anything about it, I make it up. It's everybody's favorite game. Twitter trending topics next on The Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
Way to kill the joke.
I did.
Prisma.
I'm an idiot, so what do you want?
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
Our friends at Prisma Health are committed to your safe care. Prisma Health has been on the forefront of combating the coronavirus pandemic since it broke a year and a couple of months ago, and they remain vigilant now. Not only are they taking every precaution available in their hospitals, but they have set up different ways to make it easier for those who are immunocompromised to get health care. In fact, when you go to their website at prismahealth.org, not only can you schedule an appointment from right there on the website without having to go in to do it, not only can you search and look and find a doctor from their over 2,400 medical providers without having to go in and meet everybody face to face, not only can you find a location without having to go out of the house and drive around, but they have added the option for virtual appointments as well. So if you can't leave the house because you are immunocompromised, now you can have virtual appointments where you can meet those 2,400 plus healthcare providers right there from the comfort, security, and most important, safety of your own home. Check out their website at prismahealth.org, You can do all those things I mentioned. Plus, with their My Chart feature, your entire medical history is right there in an easy-to-use, organized, streamlined chart so that you can know exactly what is going on with you and your healthcare, between you and your medical professionals. Go to prismahealth.org. It's our friends at Prisma Health, the official providers of healthcare for the Gamecocks and the Tigers. Prisma Health, right here in the Upstate.
Looks like I'm gonna have to be careful when I leave. Although they're not around my car, there looks to be about 5 or 6 little. What are they? Are they goslings?
Gooselets?
What
do you call a baby?
Geese children.
Geese children. Yeah, goslings. You were right. Little Ryan goslings.
I was thinking goslings from DuckTales, but you know.
Woo!
So someone texted in right at the end of the show Saturday, "Go Batman," and they spelled "go" like someone who's a Saints fan, and I'm just curious if it was you.
No.
Okay. So there's another Saints fan out there. Okay.
There are dozens of us, Lonzo.
Batman won the entire thing. Surprise.
Shocking.
The final was Batman versus Dragon Ball Z, though.
I like Dragon Ball Z in college, but I'd go Batman. The animated series?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Well, all the Batman animated series together as a franchise. Yeah. Yeah. So it was left up to the texters, and you know, the first person who texted in got Batman. So I wasn't going to go against Dragon Ball Z on the day when I got, autographs from people from Dragon Ball Z who may or may not have been listening at that time. 1 minute. I was told I betrayed my generation by not voting for Justice League, though.
I think you need to revamp your personal opinion, subjective, of course. I think you need to revamp what you should do, I think, next year. I like the race on the text line, but I think you should give 1 minute for everybody to text in their votes and then tally up the text votes. I think you get a more accurate representation.
I like the sudden death aspect of it. Oh, and the problems it causes and the anger it causes, which was a whole lot better when there were 4 people in the room. There's always going to be someone.
I think maybe like when you had 4, like I sat in with you for a couple last year when you did, what was it, sitcoms last year?
Yeah.
And we had some really heated debate about some of them. But I think when it's just 2 people, like I'm assuming that a solid chunk of your bracket ended up being 1-1 ties.
Opinion.
I had more than one, 2 people a lot of times.
Everybody has one. Call 844-GSP-ESPN. Local sports talk on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
All right, it's time for Twitter Trending Topics when I tell everybody what is trending on the internet, and Rob will tell us what he knows about. The first thing trending is Alex Smith.
Alex Smith is trending because Alex Smith has announced his retirement. Last year's comeback player of the year after that awful leg injury and the incredible comeback. I mean, name the damn comeback player of the award after him. What an incredible story. But I'm happy about this, Zoe, because I got to tell you, man, every time Alex Smith took a hit on the field last year, I kind of recoiled from my TV, but because I just could not bear to watch him go through all that progress. And I'm glad he came back. I'm glad he got his year, and I'm glad he proved he could do it. He is an inspiration. He is a hell of a story. I hope he ends up getting paid a lot of money to go around and tell that story and inspire people to come back from setbacks that seem like they would prevent them from living their dreams. But I'm also glad he's retired so that we don't all have to wince together every time he takes a hit.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that we're glad that he retired, but I agree with you. Every time he took a hit, I was like, oh no. And here's a guy who I was a fan of when he was with San Francisco. I was a fan of, obviously, when he was with Kansas City. And the fact that he was able to come back from almost losing his leg and watching any of the rehab that he went through and the gruesome scars that are on that leg. And I have some of my own, and I know how that feels. But the fact that he came back and played at a high level too, it wasn't like he just came back and sat on the bench when he's called upon. He looked pretty good. Especially all things considered, because did you ever? No one thought he would ever step a toe back on the field.
There was a point in time where we thought he was going to be lucky to be able to walk normally again.
Right, and he was able to do that. So I'm glad that he retired.
Check out the retirement list this offseason, Lonzo. Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Alex Smith, Julian Edelman, Jason Witten, Greg Olsen, Thomas Davis, Marquise and Mike Pouncey, Anthony Costanzo, Mike Iupati, Vance McDonald, Matt Schaub, Tyrone Crawford, Anthony Sherman. The retirement list from this year's NFL season is a freaking Pro Bowl roster.
Well, absolutely it is. And it isn't like that there's a rash of retirements and all these guys were too young. Most of those guys played for a really long time in the league. And it's cool that they got to go out on their own terms for the most part.
Yep.
All right, the next thing trending are the Cincinnati Bengals.
Cincinnati has released a new set of uniforms. They are... I don't know, man. Listen, I'm a big uni guy, Alonzo. Like I don't know why. I just like looking at teams and the way that they look. I mean, I know a lot of people don't. I loved when the Seahawks came out with those outrageous uniforms. I loved when I did not love the Jets uniforms. I thought they were just kind of The Bengals' new uniforms, I kind of don't hate them. They got rid of the old motif with the white chest with the orange and black Bengal stripes on the sideline. They're a little more modern, contemporary, sleek. They're not as nice as I think the Bengals could get away with, but I don't hate them. I will say this, for me as a uni guy, They kind of don't fit with the traditional helmets, though. They don't really go with the old school helmet. So unless Cincinnati's going to redesign the hat too, I think the redesign was a little too much.
All right. As someone who was born in Ohio and have seen the uniforms, the classic ones, before I saw the headline, the first thing I saw was a uniform, and I thought, why is Cleveland changing their uniform? So to me, Cincinnati said, well, Cleveland's winning. Let's look more like them. And, again, I'm from there. So I get the heat between the two. I think it looks a little too much like a Cleveland uniform. And some traditional uniforms, they look good, and you just need to leave them alone. A Tiger should have orange on it. Ask the people up the road.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with that. Even keeping the stripe motif. I like when teams kind of have their own unique regular look, but like I said, it's just a little. I don't know. Like if you're gonna go for it, go for it. It's kind of like they started coming up with this very new contemporary design, and then they just kind of gave up at the end.
Yeah. I don't like it, but we'll whether you like it or not, they probably, I'm trying to recall, has there ever been a time where in the middle of a season team went, you know what? We've heard the outcry. You guys were right. These uniforms suck. It was a bad idea. We're going back to the old ones.
No. In fact, traditionally when teams do it, they're like, we don't really care what you think. And on top of that, here's the fun part. The NFL actually has rules about how often you're allowed to. I think you have to, once you redesign, I think you have to stay with that redesign for 4 years.
Oh, man.
Change uniform again.
Oh, that's so
that
bad.
is what the Bengals are stuck with for 4 years. I believe it's 4 years until they're allowed to switch their unis again.
Well, hopefully you play well, Joe Burrow. And those uniforms might be a deterrent, but that's just my opinion.
I don't think anybody's going to care if Joe B can stick a Super Bowl patch on the side of one, what those unis look like. They will take that over an ugly uniform.
Well, there is that. All right, the next thing that's trending is The Last Dance.
The Last Dance trending again. Wow. I do not know why The Last Dance is
trending. All right, it was a year ago when the first 2 episodes of The Last Dance came out. And if you recall, we had nothing. And everybody was so excited and pumped for The Last Dance. And all we heard about for a long period of time, deservedly so, by the way, because even if sports were going on, we still would have heard a lot about this. But with no sports going on, that's where all the attention was. And those first 2 episodes, they were great. Well, the whole thing was great, but still.
I agree. The whole thing was great. Yeah, I remember there was a point where we were doing hours of, and not just hours about it, but like getting feedback, like getting callers and texters in. One of my favorite moments, and you were a part of it, Zoe, was when you and Mark had on the guy who claimed to have made the pizza that Michael Jordan blamed food poisoning on. Great interview, phenomenal moment. I know that you guys were on like national media for having found this guy. And I got into a little heat because, Zoe, I don't care what he said or Jordan said. Michael Jordan was in Atlantic City the night before hammered. Dude was hungover. Dude played through it. I would have far more respect if Mike would just come out and go, hey, look, I downed the whiskey the night before. I was hungover. I still came out and dropped 60. What do you want? Far. It's not like Michael Jordan has like this super kid-friendly image to maintain. Dude, you got drunk. You were out playing the tables. I don't care. I've been hungover like that before, and I couldn't walk upstairs. You came out and dropped 60 in a finals game. Good on you, mate.
Face of the league, man. Still, face of the league. He could not have come out and said that, even if it were true. I'm blaming it on the pizza. I think it was poison. I don't believe that guy. I think it was all set up. They were trying to take him down, and he showed them.
You ever had food poisoning, Alonzo?
Yes, I have.
You ain't dropping 60. I don't care if you're Michael Jordan. You're not dropping 60 with food poisoning because you can't get away from a bathroom long enough to score a deuce, right? That dude was hungover. As it gets. Trust me, I know the signs of a hangover. That dude was hungover. But yes, The Last Dance was great, wasn't it? That's going to do it for the show, ladies and gentlemen. For Lonzo, my name is Rob Brown, Mark Ryan, and Diesel up next for a little offside. Stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll try harder tomorrow. Back on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Later.